Chapter 1248. Seeing this, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor recognized the person who told him to stop. He quickly put away the jade bottle and was about to leave. Stop! The man stopped the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. It was a middle-aged man with Tao Essence tertiary stage cultivation. Ning Qing guessed he was the manager of Qianren Merchant Tower. Qianren Qianbei, I've already traded with this Qianbei. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor clearly felt wary of this middle-aged man. The middle-aged man said calmly, "This is Qianren Merchant Tower. Even if you want to trade, you have to ask Qianren Merchant Tower's permission. If everyone casually transacts in my Qianren Merchant House, how can my Qianren Merchant House do business?" The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's face looked bad, but he didn't dare to refute this middle-aged man. Not only was this person stronger than him, but this place also belonged to Qianren Merchant Tower. Ning Cheng saw the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor look at him and smiled. "You can leave. No one will stop you." The middle-aged Tao Essence Divine Emperor's face changed. He looked at Ning Cheng and said, "Tao friend, although my Qianren Merchant Tower will trade with you, our rules aren't something an outsider can interfere with." Ning Cheng ignored the middle-aged Tao Essence Divine Emperor. He looked at the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor who didn't dare to move and said, "I told you to leave. Don't blame others for not leaving." Hearing this, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor finally gritted his teeth and charged out. "You're courting death." The middle-aged Tao Essence Divine Emperor didn't have time to look for trouble with Ning Cheng. He grabbed towards the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. But as soon as he formed the hand seal, he found himself bound by a powerful space law. At this moment, he couldn't move at all. He could only watch as the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor disappeared into the street. As soon as the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor disappeared, the middle-aged Tao Essence Divine Emperor felt the binding around him loosen. Everything became natural again. "Qianbei." The middle-aged Tao Essence Divine Emperor looked at Ning Cheng in shock. To be able to use space law to bind him, this was simply Tao Integration Divine Emperor. If a Tao Integration Divine Emperor came to the Thousand Ren Void City, all the experts of the Thousand Ren commercial building combined would probably be no match for him. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. "The deal between me and him is our own business. It has nothing to do with your Thousand Sparks Merchant House." Yes, I understand. I was too presumptuous just now. Please forgive me, Senior." The middle-aged man's voice was filled with fear. Although this was not a big deal, there were many examples of merchant houses being destroyed because of this. Ning Cheng waved his hand and spoke, "Let's forget about the matter from a moment ago. Are you the shopkeeper here?" "Yes, I am Yan Jingyao. I am in charge of the Qianren Merchant House's operations." Yan Jingyao quickly bowed and replied. Ning Cheng nodded. "In that case, I have a few questions to ask you." "Senior, please take a seat in the guest hall upstairs." Yan Jingyao, on realizing that Ning Cheng's strength far surpassed his own, spoke with a tone filled with fear and trepidation. Yan Jingyao led Ning Cheng to the second floor and served him a cup of top-notch divine spirit tea before asking carefully, "Senior, please ask me any questions you have. I will tell you everything I know." "Okay, I heard that a piece of released soil was auctioned in the Thousand Ren Void City. Which auction house sold it?" Ning Cheng asked directly. Yan Jingyao replied in a respectful tone, "This piece of released soil was auctioned by the Qianren Commercial Building. I heard that it came from the Jiaoyang Mountain. A mid-stage primordial chaos expert came to auction the released soil. He originally sent a large piece of released soil to the Thousand Ren Void City for auction. I don't know what happened later, but he took more than half of it back and only left 1/3 here for auction. This is because this piece of released soil is one of the most precious treasures auctioned by our merchant house. I remember very clearly that it was won by a man in a green robe. Apart from that, what other precious treasures are there in the Thousand Ren Void City?" Ning Cheng asked again. He had nothing to do in the Thousand Ren Void City. He had deliberately paused because of Lei Shiran's words. "There's also a broken creation cultivation technique." Yan Jingyao's words almost made Ning Cheng stand up. He hurriedly asked, "Creation cultivation technique? How can a creation cultivation technique be recorded?" Ning Cheng was not a person who did not understand. The mysterious yellow formless that he cultivated was a good fortune cultivation method. Moreover, he had a vague guess in his heart that a good fortune cultivation method could not be recorded down. Only those with the treasures of fortune could comprehend this kind of cultivation technique. The black-yellow formless that he cultivated could only record some derivative cultivation techniques in jade slips. Yan Jingyao hurriedly explained, "Senior is right. To be precise, it's not a cultivation technique jade slip, but a piece of an axe blade. I heard that many fragments of the creation indestructible axe were lost in the Jiaoliang mountain. These fragments come in different sizes. The axe blade is a fragment of the creation indestructible axe found in the Jiaoliang mountain. It's a very large piece. The blade of the axe was half a foot long. I heard that the person who found the axe blade was a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. When he saw the axe blade, he was overjoyed and wanted to keep the axe blade. However, he did not expect that the axe blade contained a powerful axe line killing intent. He was directly killed by the killing intent. A Tao Essence Divine Emperor who was passing by had good luck and picked up the axe blade. When that Tao Essence Divine Emperor picked up the axe blade, the Tao runes on the axe blade were very clear. Although it was broken, it was a cultivation technique. Many people who came later did not obtain the axe blade, but they understood part of the cultivation technique. Just by relying on this small amount of understanding, their strength soared and even directly advanced. Ning Cheng's heart moved. Just now, that Tao transformation cultivator in hemp clothes had traded with him a fragment of the creation indestructible axe. Ning Cheng had a creation treasure, and he could tell that it was a creation indestructible axe fragment. He remembered that Mang Yong also had a fragment of the indestructible axe on him. Moreover, Yan Jingyao had mentioned that the indestructible axe contained the good fortune cultivation method. From the looks of it, Jiaoliang Mountain had the most fragments of the indestructible axe. Since that Tao Essence Divine Emperor obtained the creation indestructible axe fragment, how did he appear in the Thousand Thunder Void City? Ning Cheng asked in confusion. If he obtained such an item, he would naturally find a place to hide in seclusion. Yan Jingyao quickly said, although that person obtained the indestructible axe blade, too many people saw it. He used an escape talisman to escape, but even so, he still could not escape the pursuit of others. This continued until he escaped into the Thousand Thunder Void City and could no longer escape. That person was killed and the indestructible axe blade was taken away? Ning Cheng asked immediately. Yan Jingyao shook his head. He wasn't killed. He knew that he could no longer leave after reaching the Thousand Thunder Void City unless he handed over the indestructible axe blade that contained the creation indestructible axe. Later on, he really thought of a way to auction off the axe blade. He sealed the axe blade in Chenren Square, suspended it in the void, and let everyone bid for it. However, no one bid, and everyone rushed up to fight for the axe blade. Ning Cheng shook his head. It was obvious. He didn't ask because Yan Jingyao would definitely continue to talk about the whereabouts of the axe blade that contained the creation indestructible technique. Sure enough, Yan Jingyao continued, the axe blade entered the Yin family after everyone fought over it. After that, no one dared to touch the axe blade. Yin family? Ning Cheng looked at Yan Jingyao in confusion. Was the Yin family that powerful? No one dared to touch the indestructible axe blade that contained the Tao runes of the creation indestructible technique? Is the Yin family in the Thousand Thunder Void City? Ning Cheng asked. Yan Jingyao obviously understood the meaning behind Ning Cheng's words, and quickly spoke up, yes, but this Yin clan is not a clan like what Senior thinks. No, how should I say it, the Yin clan is a clan, but there are no living people in it. Yan Jingyao spoke in a long-winded manner, but Ning Cheng understood. You mean that the Yin family was originally a family in the Thousand Thunder Void City, but after the family perished, no one dared to enter the Yin family's house? Yes, Yan Jingyao replied. Ning Cheng chuckled, stared at Yan Jingyao and said, you said that the Yin family was powerful and no one dared to go in. You said that there was no one in the Yin family and only a house, but no one dared to go in? If this kind of thing happened in the ordinary secular world, Ning Cheng might have believed it a little. However, the Thousand Thunder Void City was full of starry sky experts, and the weakest was probably at least at the heaven-seated realm. In Earth's terms, such experts were all exalted immortals. As for cultivators at the Tao modeling realm and above, they were experts who had touched the Tao of heaven and earth. Would such experts be afraid of an empty house? Even a house full of ghost cultivators wouldn't go that far. Even in the Nether realm, there were people who went in. Senior, you will know what this junior means when you go there. Yan Jingyao understood Ning Cheng's doubts and explained, before the creation indestructible axe blade, some people entered the Yin family's house, but no one came out. Later, the indestructible axe blade containing the creation indestructible technique fell in the Yin family's house. Many experts went in, including primordial chaos experts, but no one came out. Ning Cheng frowned slightly. Did no Tao integration experts come here? The indestructible axe blade containing the creation Tao rune cultivation method was enough to attract Tao integration experts. Even he would come to take a look when he heard the news, let alone others. Yan Jingyao said carefully, as for whether any Tao integration experts came here, I don't know. I heard that a Tao integration expert came here before. He observed outside the Yin family's house for a long time before leaving again. Ning Cheng didn't ask any more questions and said directly, take me to the Yin family's house now. Yes, this junior obeys, Yan Jingyao said immediately. The Yin family was in the westernmost corner of the Thousand Thunder Void City. While leading the way, Jingyao told Ning Cheng that the Yin family used to be the most powerful and mysterious family in the Thousand Thunder Void City. However, this family was very strange. They never did any business in the Thousand Thunder Void City and very few disciples went out. Many years ago, it was said that the Yin family had offended a peerless expert. That peerless expert had fought in the Yin family's territory for several days and nights. Later, the Yin family had become a dead land and no one had come out. Chapter 1249. As the two talked, they arrived at the west corner of the 1009 Void City. Near the west corner, there was almost no one there. When Ning Cheng came here, he found that someone had already set up a simple defensive restriction here. This simple defensive restriction couldn't prevent the people inside from coming out, nor could it prevent the people outside from going in. Perhaps this defensive restriction was just a psychological effect. Standing outside the defensive restriction, Ning Cheng could feel a kind of gloomy aura. This aura was somewhat similar to the aura of the Dark Nether realm, but it was also completely different. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept in, but other than the tall gate tower of the Yin clan, there was nothing else. The tall gate tower was mottled and strange. On the top of the gate tower, there were 3 broken mottled words, Yin clan's corner. The corner was missing half of the words, making it look even more dilapidated. When his spiritual consciousness passed through the tall gate, Ning Cheng could only feel a gloomy black hole. No matter how his spiritual consciousness forcibly broke through the black hole, he still couldn't see anything. The Yin clan's corner was like the void, but it was even stranger than the void. He could at least feel the void. When his spiritual consciousness entered this place, there was only one word, hollow. Senior, this is the Yin clan. Very few people have gone in recently. Yan Jingyao pointed to the gloomy Yin clan's corner and said to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng waved his hand at Yan Jingyao and said, there's nothing for you to do here. You can leave at any time. Ning Cheng despised people like Yan Jingyao who forced people to buy and sell. If it weren't for Yan Jingyao's threat to that Tao transformation divine emperor, he might have taken out 2 heaven essence heavenly pills to sell to the 1009 Void City. Yes, senior. Yan Jingyao didn't dare to stay here. If Ning Cheng was in a bad mood and slapped him, he wouldn't have a place to cry out. Ning Cheng didn't immediately enter the Yin clan's corner. He observed from outside for a while. As Yan Jingyao said, after nearly an hour, Ning Cheng didn't see anyone enter the Yin clan's corner. Moreover, no matter what method he used, his spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate the Yin clan's corner. Ning Cheng hesitated whether to go in or not. He had been to many dangerous places. Even the burial shadow blue sand was not a place where his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate. Even if he couldn't penetrate it at first, he could penetrate it after a while. However, his spiritual consciousness really couldn't penetrate this place at all. Even after trying for an hour, it still didn't work. "Hey, Brother Ning, what a coincidence. Did you also come here to look for the fragment of the indestructible axe?" A familiar voice with a hint of surprise sounded, followed by Zhang-Yi walking over. So it turned out to be Dao friend Tan Tai. Ning Cheng also smiled and cupped his fists. Ning Cheng didn't find it strange that Zhang Tai-yi appeared here. The woman wandered around the void markets in the void in search of all kinds of rare treasures. Otherwise, he would not have seen her in the Heavenly Alliance Dao Pagoda. Now that Zhang Tai-yi had appeared in the Thousand Thunder Void City, it was obvious that she had come for the good fortune indestructible axe fragment. Just as Zhang Tai-yi said, it was quite a coincidence. The void was vast and boundless. Even if Zhang Tai-yi came for the shard of the good fortune indestructible axe, it was still a coincidence that she happened to meet him here. Ning Cheng suspected that this woman knew that he was here, and then deliberately looked for him. However, he couldn't understand how Zhang Tai-yi knew he was here. If Brother Ning wants to go in and look for the indestructible axe's shard, why don't we join forces? Zhang Tai-yi's eyes flashed with eagerness. She wanted to join forces with Ning Cheng last time, but she didn't succeed because Ning Cheng didn't care about her. After meeting Ning Cheng this time, she immediately wanted to join forces again. She had a hunch that Ning Cheng wasn't a simple person. The reason why she came to the Thousand Thunder Void City this time was not because she knew that Ning Cheng was here, but because she heard that the Qianren merchant house had 2 Heaven Yuan heavenly pills when she passed by a teleportation array adjacent to the Thousand Thunder Void City. She didn't need the Heaven Yuan heavenly pills now, but she knew that it was something that only the top pill saints could refine. Someone who could appear in the Thousand Thunder Void City with 2 Heaven Yuan heavenly pills definitely wasn't an ordinary person. In order to find the owner of the Heaven Yuan heavenly pills, Zhang Tai-yi deliberately came to the Thousand Thunder Void City and found the Qianren merchant house. After asking in the Thousand Thunder Void merchant house, she knew that Ning Cheng had gone to the Yin clan's corner. It wasn't that she didn't know about the Yin clan's corner. With her experience in the void, how could she not know that the Yin clan's corner contained the indestructible axe's shard that contained the creation Dao runes? She had come here twice for this matter but didn't dare to enter the Yin clan's corner both times. She was too afraid of the Yin clan's corner. She had seen a half-step Dao integration Holy Emperor enter the Yin clan's corner and never come out again. She believed that she was much stronger than that half-step Dao integration Holy Emperor, but she still didn't dare to take the risk. Zhang Tai-yi had thought more than once that if she had this broken creation indestructible axe's shard, she could definitely succeed in Dao integration in the most powerful way. She hadn't reached Dao integration yet, not because she couldn't, but because she didn't want to. With her strength, walking in the void was almost not dangerous. Moreover, after all these years, she also knew that Dao integration was very important. If she casually reached Dao integration, not only would her life end here, but her strength would also be far inferior to others. Ning Cheng smiled. "I haven't thought about it yet. If Taoist Zhang Tai wants to go in, you don't have to consider me." Zhang Tai-yi had a smile on her face without any embarrassment. "Brother Ning, you know that I don't dare to go in alone. I've been in the void for countless years, and there aren't many people who I admire. But Brother Ning is one of them. So if Brother Ning wants to go in, I'm willing to be Brother Ning's helper. If Brother Ning doesn't go in, I definitely won't dare to go in." Ning Cheng didn't expect Zhang Tai-yi to speak so directly. He wanted to say that he could go in and she could go in and mind her own business. However, Zhang Tai-yi had always been polite and respectful to him since she met him. Even if Ning Cheng didn't like Zhang Tai-yi, he couldn't say such words with his personality. "Brothers and sisters, if you go in, can you take me with you?" A young-looking male cultivator quickly walked over and spoke with a smile on his face. If it were on Earth, Ning Cheng would even suspect that this young male cultivator wasn't even 20 years old. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him a teenager. But here, Ning Cheng felt sure that the other party was more than 20 years old because the other party had perfected Dao transformation realm cultivation. Ning Cheng still felt sure that this male cultivator wasn't old. It was Ning Cheng's first time seeing such a young perfected Dao transformation realm cultivator. In addition to peerless aptitude, he also needed countless cultivation resources. From this point, Ning Cheng understood that this teenager came from a top-tier force. Moreover, this young male cultivator looked really handsome, and his skin wasn't any worse than Zhang Taiyi's. From the fact that he, a Dao transformation holy emperor, dared to enter Yin Clan's corner with two experts far stronger than him, it showed how confident he was. When Zhang Taiyi saw this young male cultivator, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. But this surprise only flashed for a moment before disappearing. Ning Cheng didn't speak. If he wanted to enter Yin Clan's corner, let alone a perfected Dao transformation realm cultivator, he wouldn't even want to bring Zhang Taiyi along. The young male cultivator didn't feel embarrassed when he saw Ning Cheng and Zhang Taiyi not talking. He still showed his white teeth and said with a smile, "My name is Jin Xiaobing. Brothers and sisters, you don't have to worry about me being a burden. I definitely won't drag you down. I've been waiting here for several years and always wanted to go in with the experts to see the excitement. But I didn't see any experts. Instead, I saw a lot of ordinary people. It's just that after they went in, they never got a chance to come out. You haven't gone in even once." Ning Cheng stared at Zhen Xiaobing. Zhen Xiaobing touched his hair in embarrassment. "I went in once and almost lost my life, so I quickly came out." "You went in once?" Ning Cheng looked at Zhen Xiaobing in confusion. Didn't Yan Jingyao say that as long as one went in, they would die and no one would come out? Why could this Zhen Xiaobing come out again after going in? Zhen Xiaobing nodded without the slightest vigilance and said, "Yeah, I really went in once. It's just a hole in there. Once you go in, not only can you not use your spiritual consciousness, but you also can't use your spirit essence. Fortunately, I have a teleportation array disk that can be activated with a thought. I used the array disk to escape." An array disk that can be activated with a thought? Ning Cheng's interest in Yin Clan's corner wasn't as great as this array disk. "Dao friend Jin, can you let me have a look at your array disk?" "Don't worry, I just want to have a look. I definitely won't take anything from you." "Of course." Zhen Xiaobing put an array disk in Ning Cheng's hands without even a shred of vigilance. The array disk looked very exquisite and had a very novel appearance. Obviously, it was not an ancient thing, but a newly refined one. Ning Cheng had a good impression of this Zhen Xiaobing. He thought that even if Zhen Xiaobing wanted to show him the array disk, he would at least put forward a request, that is, when he went in, he would bring him along. Ning Cheng didn't expect that he wouldn't even ask, and directly handed over the array disk to him. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell on the array disk and immediately felt shocked. This array disk definitely had not been refined for more than 100 years, but the array disk structure and the method of engraving array formations made him feel refreshed. He had studied the Tao of array formations for a long time. Even the array Tao jade strip that Nianyan gave him had traces of the array formation method. Zhen Xiaobing's array disk did not leave any traces behind. It was completely natural. This kind of traceless refining method was somewhat similar to the development direction of his Tao of array formations. However, Ning Cheng knew that he absolutely couldn't achieve this level. So strong. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept through the array disk's veins and murmured to himself. Unfortunately, his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate it. Firstly, this array disk was not his. Secondly, he did not understand the refining method of this array disk. Once his spiritual consciousness penetrated it, it would most likely destroy the array disk structure. "May I ask who helped you refine this array disk?" Ning Cheng handed the array disk to Zhen Xiaobing and asked in a very polite tone. Zhen Xiaobing casually put away the array disk and showed an unguarded smile. "This was given to me by my mother. My mother was worried that I would be in danger outside, so she gave me this array disk." Zhen Xiaobing's words were not very clear, but Ning Cheng did not ask again. He nodded and spoke. "In that case, let's go in and have a look. This Yin Clan's corner, in case something goes wrong, let's all escape." Chapter 1250. Ning Cheng was the first to walk into the restriction, followed by Zhen Xiaobing and Zhang Tai. Stepping through the broken entrance of Yin Clan's corner, Ning Cheng felt empty under his feet. At this moment, whether it was his spiritual consciousness or spirit essence, both were in an empty state and useless. It was like an ordinary person standing on the edge of a cliff and falling off the cliff without any support. Even powerhouses like Ning Cheng and Zhan Tai would feel a sense of panic in their hearts. At this time, Yin Clan's corner did not feel like a residential corner, but a bottomless abyss. Ning Cheng did not move, nor did he forcibly stimulate the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. Even if it was a bottomless abyss, it would not kill him. If he, a body-refining powerhouse with a sacred body, fell to his death in this place, it would be too ridiculous. More importantly, he vaguely felt the aura of an illusion array here. Perhaps after a long time, or perhaps just a moment, Ning Cheng felt a tremor under his feet, as if he had landed on the ground. That tremor could even affect his mind and soul, but Ning Cheng's consciousness had a feeling that it was just a psychological effect. In fact, he did not even move. A panicked scream came, and Ning Cheng heard it clearly. It was Zhan Tai's scream. Ning Cheng raised his hand and grabbed Zhan Tai. Zhan Tai seemed to be in extreme panic. When she grabbed Ning Cheng's arm, she quickly held on tightly and did not dare to relax. It was like a person falling off a cliff grabbing onto a life-saving object. Feeling the power coming from Zhan Tai's hand, Ning Cheng suddenly understood something. He wondered why Zhen Xiaobing did not scream, nor did she move. It doesn't matter. As long as your nerves are thick enough, it will not affect you in this place. Zhen Xiaobing's indifferent voice came over. Ning Cheng raised his hand and threw out a bright light array disc. Immediately, the position of the three of them appeared clearly. Was there a cliff or a bottomless abyss where they were? A few steps behind the three of them was the broken entrance. The place where the three of them stood was just a huge bluestone slab from the entrance of Yin Clan's corner. Around the bluestone slab, there were only bones everywhere. Even if Ning Cheng refined a high-level bright light array disc, he could only see a small area in front of him. Zhan Tai finally recovered and quickly let go of Ning Cheng's arm. Her face looked a little pale. Ning Cheng remained silent. He didn't feel ashamed of Zhan Tai. He knew very well what had just happened. This was a great nightmare array. This array formation could even affect him, so it was obvious how terrifying it was. It was like when an ordinary person was dreaming. He dreamed that he was climbing a very high and steep cliff. When he was about to reach the top, the rock in his hand suddenly loosened and he fell from the cliff. At this moment, both his body and soul were in a state of extreme panic. When something like this happened in a dream, once it exceeded the psychological endurance, it would not be strange even if one died. However, the great nightmare formation before him was on a completely different level compared to a dream. After all, dreams were fake. Once you couldn't break free from this great nightmare array, then it was real. The skeletons around the bluestone slab showed how many people had died here. It was only a few steps away from the gate. There was no abyss or killing array. So many people had died just because of the great nightmare formation. I'm sorry, Brother Ning. I just fell into the great nightmare formation. If it weren't for you, I don't know what would have happened. Zhan Tai's face looked a little better. She finally understood what kind of place she had fallen into. If she hadn't grabbed Ning Cheng's arm, she wouldn't have fallen. However, she would have definitely suffered some injuries. Moreover, once she got injured, no one knew what would happen next. Ning Cheng nodded and looked at Zhen Xiaobing with a meaningful gaze. Dao friend Zhen, you didn't suffer any injuries in this great nightmare array. You really are powerful. Ning Cheng said those words deliberately. Zhen Xiaobing definitely knew that there was a terrifying great nightmare array here. But when he came in, he didn't say anything. Zhen Xiaobing didn't feel the slightest bit of reprimand and spoke with admiration on his face. Big Brother Ning's strength is simply too powerful. I barely got through it because I had a breaking illusion array disc. Big Brother Ning relied on his firm belief and mind to remain unaffected. This is what you call skill. When he heard Zhan Tai call him Brother Ning, he immediately called him Big Brother Ning. Ning Cheng didn't expose Zhen Xiaobing's lies. Zhen Xiaobing knew that there was a top-notch great nightmare array here, but he didn't say anything in advance. Obviously, he wanted to test his and Zhang Taiyi's strength to see if they were qualified to take him in. A Dao transformation Holy Emperor testing the strength of two primordial chaos powerhouses to see if they were qualified to take him in. Ningqing showed a faint smile. I didn't ask you about my ability. I just asked you about your method. Since we are working together, then we naturally have to discuss the method together. Otherwise, there would be no point in working together. Yes, Big Brother Ning is right. I did it because of this array disk. Zhen Xiaobing not only took it for granted, but he also felt a trace of shame for taking out the array disk too late. Ningqing took the array disk from Zhen Xiaobing and looked at it carefully before returning it to Zhen Xiaobing with a calm expression. This was a breaking illusion array disk. The Great Nightmare Array was a type of illusion array. A mere illusory breaking array disk was able to break such a terrifying Great Nightmare Array. The person who refined this array disk was incredibly strong, just like the teleportation array disk that Zhen Xiaobing gave him before. After Zhen Xiaobing took the array disk, Ningqing asked, Dao friend Zhen, you have so many top-grade array disks on you. Why do you want to work with us? You can go anywhere in this place. Zhen Xiaobing showed a slightly embarrassed expression. I don't have many array disks. I don't have the radiant array disk that Big Brother Ning used just now. Zhang Taiyi suddenly said, Then do you want one? Ningqing immediately understood Zhang Taiyi's meaning. If Zhen Xiaobing wanted one, Zhang Taiyi would definitely say that as long as he took out a breaking illusion array disk, Brother Ning would definitely exchange it with him. Zhen Xiaobing acted like a little fox and quickly waved her hand. I don't dare and I can't. My mother said that things that are precious to you are even more precious to others. If a person casually asks for other people's precious things, then that person can't make friends. Zhang Taiyi felt exasperated. Zhen Xiaobing not only refused her words, but also blocked all her excuses for asking for the array disk. Ningqing couldn't refine Zhen Xiaobing's array disk right now. Moreover, Ningqing knew that he still had a long way to go before he could refine such an array disk. In fact, Ningqing didn't really want Zhen Xiaobing's array disk. Even if she didn't show him this array disk, he would have the opportunity to refine it in the future. What's more, he had already seen this kind of array disk. It wouldn't be difficult to refine such an array disk in the future. Dao friend Zhen, are there any other dangers in this Yin clan's corner? Ningqing looked at Zhen Xiaobing with a smile. This Zhen Xiaobing didn't seem to have any ulterior motives, but she definitely was a little fox. Zhen Xiaobing showed a very good-looking smile, but her face still showed some shame. I came in with others before, but those two people weren't as powerful as Big Brother Ning and Big Sister Ning. I didn't dare to go forward alone, so I retreated. After coming here, can you still retreat from the gate? Zhang Taiyi looked at Zhen Xiaobing with some suspicion. Zhen Xiaobing showed a blank expression, and then carefully spoke up, I really don't know if you can get out of this gate. I was in a hurry at that time and directly used the transfer array disk to get out. Ningqing didn't have to guess to know that one definitely couldn't get out of this gate. Once one retreated, there would definitely be all kinds of dangers. Otherwise, no one would have come out of this Yin clan's corner after so many years. Since we're already here, let's go in and have a look. Ningqing finished and walked in. Zhang Taiyi followed behind Ningqing, almost never leaving his side. The Nightmare Grand Array from a moment ago still left her with a lingering fear. Zhen Xiaobing, however, acted as if she didn't have a care in the world, walking at the back while looking around. Ningqing couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He didn't know who taught Zhen Xiaobing to take a casual stroll in the face of life and death. This reminded him of Duan Gantai. This Zhen Xiaobing was a different version of Duan Gantai, with an extremely confident temperament. Once such a person grew up, he would become extremely powerful and terrifying. Walking in the Yin clan's corner, every step felt like stepping into a bottomless abyss. Fortunately, the Ningqing trio knew that this was the Nightmare Grand Array. As such, they didn't fall into the Grand Array again like before. The trio walked slowly, and after the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Ningqing stopped in front of two quaint wooden doors. One of the two knockers on the wooden door was broken, and a row of words was written above the knocker on the other side. Since you're here, come in. Ning Cheng stood outside the door, and his spiritual consciousness once again swept into the door. It was still dark inside the door, just like the place they had just come from. Spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep in, and the bright light array disk could only see the situation outside the door. A faint aura of the Grand Tao emerged from the dark abyss behind the door. Ning Cheng cultivated the mysterious yellow formless, so when he felt this faint aura, he immediately understood that it was the aura of a good fortune cultivation method. Because Ning Cheng had obtained a fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe, he knew that this Grand Tao aura definitely came from the axe blade of the indestructible axe. From the looks of it, Yan Jingyao didn't lie. The fragment that fell into the Yin clan's corner was indeed the good fortune indestructible axe's axe blade. Ning Cheng sensed it, and so did Zhan Tai and Zhen Xiaobing. Zhen Xiaobing spoke up without any ulterior motives. Big brother Ning, I sensed a fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe's axe blade inside. Do you want to go in? Ning Cheng looked at the innocent Zhen Xiaobing and asked, Dao friend Zhen, there is only one fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe's axe blade. Now that there are 3 of us here, who should the fragment of the axe blade go to after we go in? Chapter 1251. Zhan Tai knew that there was a huge gap between her and Ning Cheng's strength. Since she came here with Ning Cheng, she had no choice. Moreover, she also had to rely on Ning Cheng in this place. Wanting to snatch the fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe from Ning Cheng was obviously not a wise thing to do. Therefore, as soon as Ning Cheng spoke those words, she did not hesitate to speak up. This time, Brother Ning took the lead. What I mean is that if we can find the fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe's axe edge, then this fragment will belong to Brother Ning. If Brother Ning is willing, then allow me to comprehend this fragment for a period of time. Zhen Xiaobing quickly followed up and spoke. That's right, I and elder sister's thoughts are the same. For Big Brother Ning to let me comprehend the axe blade fragment of the indestructible axe, I am already very happy. Of course, if Big Brother Ning feels that it is inconvenient, then I can also come in to experience it and broaden my horizons. It would also be a happy thing. Ning Cheng was aware of the thoughts of these 2 people as he gave a smile and spoke. Since everyone has risked their lives to come here, then naturally everyone would have their own ideas about the axe blade fragment of the indestructible axe. How about this indestructible axe's axe blade fragment? Whoever obtains it will be the one to keep it. Zhen Xiaobing quickly bowed to Ning Cheng and spoke. Big Brother Ning is really broad-minded. It really makes this little brother feel ashamed. Ning Cheng did not care whether Zhen Xiaobing's words were true or false, and simply stepped through the wooden door. It was exactly the same as what Ning Cheng had thought. He had just crossed the wooden door, and just like when he had fallen into the nightmare illusion array, his whole person felt as if he had fallen into a bottomless abyss, without any leverage. At this moment, regardless of whether it was his divine sense or divine essence, he was unable to stretch or release it. Ning Cheng knew that this was definitely not the same as the previous nightmare illusion array. This time he really had fallen into a bottomless abyss. This bottomless abyss restricted his divine sense and divine essence. Just like that nightmare grand array, anyone who fell in would have their divine sense and divine essence imprisoned. After understanding this, Ning Cheng felt a lot more relaxed in his heart. He forcibly stretched out his spiritual consciousness. As expected, it was different from the Great Nightmare Array. In the Great Nightmare Array, no matter how forcefully his divine sense stretched out, he could not touch the outside at all. At this moment, he was not in the illusory array. Under the forceful extension, his divine sense could see a few meters around him. Ning Cheng had experienced many places where he could not extend out his spiritual consciousness. Whether it was the heavenly dipper space, the perpetual moon abyss, the burial shadow blue sand, or the land of broken laws. These places were all isolated from the divine sense, but as long as he entered, even if his divine sense was isolated again, his divine sense would eventually grow from nothing and then slowly extend out. In addition to his starry sky sea of consciousness, it was also related to his continuous tempering of his spiritual consciousness. Once he stretched out his spiritual consciousness, even if it was just a centimeter, Then this place would no longer be able to imprison his spiritual consciousness. Sure enough, when Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness stretched out, the range that his spiritual consciousness could extend from 1 meter to 10 meters, moreover in just a few breaths. The abyss behind the wooden door of Yin Clan's corner was like a bottomless pit. From the moment Ning Cheng came in until now, he was still falling rapidly. When Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness stretched out to 20 meters, his spiritual consciousness swept past Zhang Tai and Zhen Xiaobing. Zhen Xiaobing clearly only had Dao transformation strength. In this bottomless abyss that isolated spiritual sense and divine essence, she was much more relaxed than Zhang Tai. Zhen Xiaobing was surrounded by a large patch of faint purple clouds that contained the Dao runes of the Great Dao. The cloud wrapped around him so that he wouldn't fall too quickly. He even had the mood to look around, but Ning Cheng could feel that he couldn't release his spiritual consciousness at all. Zhang Tai, on the other hand, was still falling rapidly. If she didn't come up with a solution halfway, it wasn't impossible for her to fall to her death. Ning Cheng sped up his fall, but he didn't immediately grab Zhang Tai. In his opinion, with Zhang Tai's experience in the void, she wouldn't fall to her death so easily. Ning Cheng didn't believe that this woman would entrust her life to him. She definitely had a card up her sleeve. As she fell faster and faster, Zhang Tai suddenly raised her hand and threw out a thick red book. As soon as the thick book came out, it turned into red flame ripples. The flame ripples fell under Zhang Tai's feet, and Zhang Tai's speed immediately slowed down. At the same time, a trace of blood overflowed from the corner of Zhang Tai's mouth, and her face turned extremely pale. Sure enough, Ning Cheng thought to himself, this woman really had a card up her sleeve. Looking at Zhang Tai's appearance, she should have activated some kind of secret technique and released her spiritual consciousness to bring out the red book. The red book clearly had an extraordinary origin. Even under such a powerful spiritual consciousness and spatial suppression, it could still create a space of its own. As for Zhen Xiaobing's purple cloud, Ning Cheng couldn't see any traces of Dao charm within it. He could only vaguely feel that the Dao charm contained within the purple cloud was very powerful. It wasn't any weaker than his returning to one Dao. It wasn't any weaker than his returning to one Dao. Ning Cheng's heart even jumped. What kind of grand Dao trace was this? Was it another grand Dao derived from a good fortune cultivation method? Zhang Tai let out a soft cry, and Ning Cheng saw her entire body suspended above a sharp and indistinct light. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could sweep out hundreds of meters around him at this time, and within the range of his spiritual consciousness's sweep, there was nothing but a sharp edge. These sharp edges weren't really made up of sharp blades, but some Dao charm laws. Ning Cheng could imagine that if he didn't have his spiritual consciousness, he would fall down like before. Under this sharp edge composed of Dao charm laws, not even the residue of his essence soul would remain. Although Zhang Tai was suspended above the sharp and indistinct light, her entire body was trembling. From the looks of it, it would be difficult for her to persist in this place. Under this indistinct sharp edge, there were a lot of white bones. From this, Ning Cheng could tell that many people had died here. "Brother Ning, are you there?" Zhang Tai called out in a trembling voice. She could barely release her spiritual consciousness, but she couldn't extend it too far. She wouldn't be able to hold it for long. "Big Brother Ning, are you there? It's dangerous here." Zhen Xiaobing's panicked voice came over. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could clearly see his panicked expression. In fact, he looked much more relaxed compared to Zhang Tai. The purple cloud under his feet suspended above the sharp Dao charm laws and seemed to be handling it with ease. Ning Cheng said in a deep voice, "The two of you follow me." After saying that, Ning Cheng raised his hand and brought out a law-breaking spirit technique. At the same time, he threw out a bright light array disc. Sure enough, as soon as he brought out the law-breaking spirit technique, Zhang Tai felt her body lighten, and the spiritual consciousness she released suddenly relaxed. The sharp edge under her feet also became more vague, and the threat it posed also dropped to a minimum. If Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was a little stronger, he would have cast the law-breaking spirit technique. Most likely, the blade edge under their feet would have already disappeared. Ning Cheng breathed out a sigh of relief. From the looks of it, this fellow who had arranged all kinds of strange arrays here couldn't crush him. If he could crush him, then his law-breaking spirit technique wouldn't have worked here. Big Brother Ning, you're really strong. Fortunately, I came in with Big Brother Ning. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have to escape again. Zhen Xiaobing said with deep admiration. Ning Qing knew that with his law-breaking spirit technique, Zhen Xiaobing's spiritual consciousness could reach a certain distance. Fortunately, this fellow knew that he could still escape if he told the truth. Once Ning Cheng's law-breaking spirit technique worked, the three of them no longer posed a threat. After half an incense stick's worth of time, Ning Cheng landed. There was no Dao charm or law edge under their feet, and the place where the three of them stood was a gray ground. Thank you, Big Brother Ning. If it weren't for your help, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to escape from here. Zhang Tei changed the way she addressed him, but she still spoke with lingering fear. She did have a way to escape, but under those circumstances, she didn't know if she could have succeeded. Moreover, based on her experience, the possibility of success was very low. Ning Qing didn't answer Zhang Taiyi's words. He waved his hand and sent a voice transmission to Zhang Taiyi and Zhen Xiaobing. Don't touch the ground with your feet. It's best to keep a small distance from the ground. The gray soil under his feet gave Ning Qing a bad feeling. It felt extremely dangerous. Big Brother Ning is right. I think so too. Zhen Xiaobing's respectful voice came again. Ning Qing didn't speak again. Instead, his gaze fell on a crescent-shaped isolation restriction in front of him. The crack grew bigger and bigger, and finally, the thing inside the crack completely revealed itself to the three of them. It was a huge black altar, and in the middle of the altar was a half-foot-long fragment. The fragment was faintly emitting a faint light. A strong killing intent seeped out of this fragment. Even when Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell on it, he could feel his heart palpitating. It felt as if this fragment would cut apart his spiritual consciousness if he wasn't careful. The shape of the fragment looked like the blade light from a giant axe. Waves after waves of Dao charm emanated from the axe blade's fragment, and a series of faintly discernible handwritings slowly emerged on it, constantly fluctuating. Indestructible axe blade fragment? Zhang Taiyi and Zhen Xiaobing's eyes lit up with eagerness. Even if they didn't understand anything, they knew that this half-foot-long axe blade fragment was what they were looking for. The constantly fluctuating words were the good fortune cultivation method that everyone was talking about. Under good fortune, there is the imperishable. Above the pure yang is the heavenly Tao, and below the imturbid is the heavenly Tao. Sure enough, it was a good fortune cultivation method. Ning Cheng looked at the Grand Tao charm contained within this fragment, and the vague writing of the Grand Tao, and felt sure that this was truly a good fortune cultivation method. However, Ning Cheng's gaze quickly moved away from the axe blade fragment of the indestructible axe. His gaze then fell onto the black altar. He was very familiar with this altar, but what he saw at that time was not an altar, but an altar. That altar was the altar of Forefathers' library, which had 3 huge chains locked onto it. These 3 chains locked onto Pan Qian. In addition to these 3 blood chains, there was also a blood pool filled with heart-devouring insects. Later, when he saved Pan Qian, the altar automatically disappeared into the void. Today, Ning Qing saw an altar here. Although this altar was not an altar, Ning Qing still felt a sense of familiarity from it. Chapter 1252. Dong Dong. A few dull sounds came from the altar, and Ning Cheng's trio felt a burst of panic in their hearts. Ning Cheng found it hard to bear with his strength, let alone Zhang Tei. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Even under Ning Cheng's domain, she still staggered. The Dao charm fluctuations blasted onto Zhen Xiaobing's purple cloud and filtered out most of it. Even so, Zhen Xiaobing still couldn't bear it. He, who had always been relaxed, spat out several blood arrows this time, and his entire body was paralyzed on the purple cloud. If not for the purple clouds, these 2 thumps would have been enough to kill him. Ning Cheng raised his hand and used an law-breaking spirit technique, and the dong dong sounds instantly weakened. At the same time, the gray ground under the trio's feet disappeared without a trace. The gray ground looked like a black mouth that completely enveloped the trio. The endless law power squeezed over, and Ning Cheng's trio's freedom in this space was instantly taken away. If Ning Cheng hadn't used an law-breaking spirit technique before, the trio would have been unable to move at this moment. Big brother Ning, big sister, hurry up and leave. It's dangerous here. Zhen Xiaobing spoke nicely, but he didn't hesitate to bring out the teleportation array disc. After he took out the teleportation array disc, the purple cloud under his feet suddenly simulated a purple handprint. That handprint directly swept up the broken axe blade on the altar, and then disappeared together with him in this space that was compressed by the laws of space. Zhen Xiaobing was not only the first to rush out of the law-squeezing space, but he also swept away the broken axe blade of the good fortune indestructible axe. Not only that, but before he left, he didn't forget to call out to Ning Cheng and Zhang Tai. He alone had done all the good and good. Zhen Xiaobing knew that the reason they still had some freedom until now was because of Ning Cheng's spirit technique. Without Ning Cheng's law-breaking spirit technique, he would have died a terrible death. Zhang Tai naturally knew this very well. She didn't have time to think about anything else. Before the law-squeezing space arrived, she brought out a talisman and disappeared without a trace. She knew that once Ning Cheng's spirit technique lost its effect, she wouldn't be able to resist and would only add a pile of bones to this place. However, her means of escape were not as good as Zhen Xiaobing's. As such, she did not even have the time to call out to Ning Cheng. It wasn't that Ning Cheng didn't want to leave, but the moment he used the law-breaking spirit technique, he reached out to grab the broken axe blade. At the same time, the shadows that the three divine senses couldn't detect locked onto his hands and feet. The three shadows that locked onto his hands and feet turned into a chain, and a violent Dao charm power swept over and swept Ning Cheng away. What a powerful method, Ning Cheng thought as he was swept away by the purple cloud under Zhen Xiaobing's feet. That was definitely not a Dao transformation technique. Even an ordinary primordial chaos expert did not have such a Dao rune technique. At this point, Ning Cheng felt sure that the powerhouse behind Zhen Xiaobing was very terrifying. After Ning Cheng was swept away, the cracks in front of the sacrificial altar disappeared. If not for the fragment of the indestructible axe's axe blade, it would have looked exactly the same as when Ning Cheng's trio had first arrived. Zhen Xiaobing landed outside Yin Clan's corner and cupped his fists towards Yin Clan's corner before saying, "Elder brothers and elder sisters, this little brother will take his leave first. I hope you have a great fortune and can come out safe and sound like this little brother." After saying this, Zhen Xiaobing grabbed another array disc. The array disc turned into a white light that instantly swept him away and disappeared without a trace. As soon as Zhen Xiaobing disappeared, Zhang Tai landed in Zhen Xiaobing's position. She looked at the mottled Yin Clan's corner with a complicated expression and sighed after a long while. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, turned around, and disappeared without a trace the next moment. As the nomological power of the Dao charm grew stronger and stronger, Ning Cheng's hands and legs lost their autonomy. Surrounded by the nomological power of the Dao charm, he was brought into a bottomless abyss. The nomological power continued to increase, and as Ning Cheng got sucked into the depths, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness started to get more and more compressed. Ning Cheng took out a bottle of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pills without hesitation and poured several Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pills into his mouth. As soon as he swallowed the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pills, his spiritual consciousness immediately stabilized and began to soar once again. The nomological power of the spatial binding around him contained a trace of spiritual sense control. Therefore, Ning Cheng could use the Dark Nether Spirit Devourer to devour these spiritual consciousnesses. However, he didn't do so. Last time, he had limited strength and could only save Pan Qian. He couldn't do anything about the three chains. He didn't know if the three chains were the same ones or not, but since they took the initiative to pull him in, he wouldn't think about escaping. Ning Cheng had a vague feeling in his heart that after his cultivation had reached this level, it would be very difficult for him to make any further progress. Since it would be difficult for him to make further progress, if he couldn't defeat the opponent behind this altar in his current state, then even if he escaped, it would be difficult for him to come back for revenge in the future. As Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness grew stronger, Ning Cheng felt the gloomy aura around him growing thicker. In addition to the gloomy aura, he even heard some Sanskrit chanting. The gloomy aura made Ning Cheng's bones feel a strange chill, hinting that he could turn into nothingness at any time. The Sanskrit chanting seemed to want to plant some Tao charm seeds in his body, declaring a new grand Tao charm to him. The fusion of the two Tao charms made Ning Cheng feel like he was better off dead than alive. Pan Qian had taken away the dagger he used to cut Pan Qian's chains. Ning Cheng believed that with his restored spiritual consciousness and the strength and means he could display, he could cut the chains without the dagger. However, he still endured the terrible torture and didn't touch the chains. He just attached his celestial river flame to his left hand and the nameless flame to his right hand. The origin of these three chains was too strange. Ning Cheng believed that if he cut off these chains now, even if his strength reached the Tao perfection realm, he wouldn't be able to find the origin of these three chains, just like last time. Kaka. Ning Cheng's bones finally couldn't bear the extreme cold Tao charm and the strange Sanskrit chanting's Tao charm and slowly cracked. Ning Cheng sighed. If this continued, even if he had a sacred body, his corporeal body wouldn't be able to bear it and would fall apart. Just when Ning Cheng wanted to break the three chains, a long black belt appeared in his spiritual consciousness. Followed by a bang sound, his whole body fell to the ground. The three chains obviously came out from the same place, but they were divided into three different directions, pulling Ning Cheng up from the ground. It was as if they wanted to use the chains to split his body. Under the circulation of the Tao charm in Ning Cheng's body, his cracked bones instantly healed. But he still didn't remove the three chains. Instead, his gaze fell on the long black belt. It wasn't a long belt, but a long black river. As the Tao charm flowed over the long black river, an extremely familiar feeling welled up in Ning Cheng's heart. A vague red bridge-shaped outline appeared in front of Ning Cheng. This bridge looked strange because it was only half of it. After the bridge reached the middle, it suddenly broke. In front of the bridge, there were a few mottled words written in cursive, 6th Permitha Bridge. I've been waiting for you for a long time. You're finally here. A hoarse voice came from the other side of the long black river. Although this voice came from the other side of the black river, Ning Cheng felt as if it was speaking right next to his ear. It was gentle and warm, without the slightest urgency. Ning Cheng finally understood the meaning behind the words "since you're here, come in." It turned out that this sentence was meant for him. Were you waiting for me? Ning Cheng asked in a calm tone. Alas! A long sigh came over. Crossing this bridge for 10,000 years, the other shore will never return. Come up. The traces of Tao charm swept towards Ning Cheng. When the Tao charm appeared, Ning Cheng felt a burst of desolation in his heart. But before he could react, the power of the Tao charm of the three chains suddenly increased. Apparently, it wanted to separate his body and then pull his essence spirit into the Permitha bridge in front of him. He cultivated the 7 bridges spirit technique, but today, the 6th Permitha bridge affected him. Ning Cheng didn't dare to wait any longer. 2 flames burst out at the same time. At the same time, the good fortune divine spear behind him slammed into the chain under his feet. Bang! Bang! Cut! The power of the celestial river flame fully manifested at this moment. The flame just wrapped around Ning Cheng's wrist, and the chain wrapped around Ning Cheng's wrist immediately snapped. The celestial river flame didn't stop and immediately rushed towards Ning Cheng's right wrist. In just a few breaths, the nameless flame, with the help of the celestial river flame, managed to burn off the chain on Ning Cheng's other hand. But at this moment, Ning Cheng's good fortune divine spear also broke the chain around his feet. The moment the 3 chains around Ning Cheng's body broke, an angry shout came from the other side of the long black river. The faint sigh and warm voice from before had completely disappeared. The long black river suddenly roared, and the power of the Tao charm increased by 1,000 times in an instant. This power of the Tao charm brought Ning Cheng directly to the 6th Permitha bridge. Ning Cheng snorted and raised his hand to bring out the 7 Bridges Realm book. As soon as the 7 Bridges Realm book came out, it formed an invisible power of laws. Then, this power of laws started to crazily absorb the Dao charm on the 6th Paramitha bridge. The voice on the other side of the Black River turned even more angry, and the Dao charm on the 6th Paramitha bridge grew even more violent. Ning Cheng cast various methods, but with the help of the Seven Bridges Realm Book, he still managed to reach the edge of the broken bridge. At the edge of this broken bridge, Ning Cheng saw a red flower. Ning Cheng recognized this flower. It was the red spider lily. The red spider lily also had another name, the red spider lily. In front of this red spider lily was a void with a desolate aura of Dao charm lingering in the void. Through this void, Ning Cheng finally saw the opposite side of the void. It was also a broken bridge, and there was also a flower at the end of the broken bridge. It was a white flower. Ning Cheng also recognized this flower. It was called the mandala flower. The desolate Dao charm in the void condensed and formed into Dao charm characters. Flowers bloom and fade for billions of years, flowers and leaves never to be seen again. Chapter 1253. Crossing this bridge for 10,000 years, the other shore will never return. The Dao charm on the red bridge grew more and more rapid, but Ning Cheng gradually relaxed. Ning Cheng understood what was going on. Although the person controlling the 6th bridge was in a hurry to control the 6th bridge, he had the Seven Bridges Realm Book. Ning Cheng didn't know where the Seven Bridges Realm Book came from before. But now, he had some understanding about it. According to Li Feng, the Seven Bridges Realm Book was a treasure that could repair the Tao of reincarnation. To repair the Grand Essence Realm and the Grand Essence Realm's reincarnation Tao, Ning Cheng had done a lot of research in this area. After his deductions and guesses, he had a vague feeling in his heart. The Dark Nether Realm originally included the Seven Bridges, which formed the reincarnation path of the entire Dark Nether Realm. Later, during the Ancient War, the Tao of reincarnation was broken. After the Underworld Realm's Seven Bridges shattered, the Seven Bridges Dao charm laws transformed into the Seven Bridges Realm Book, which hid itself between heaven and earth. Later on, the broken Seven Bridges appeared in various places. But whenever the Seven Bridges Realm Book, which was formed from the law's Dao charm, encountered these broken Seven Bridges, it would directly absorb them into the Seven Bridges Realm Book. Therefore, after obtaining the Seven Bridges Realm Book, one could look for the broken Seven Bridges to absorb. After absorbing the Seven Bridges, the person who obtains this book can cultivate the Seven Bridges divine art. Once the sacred art was perfected, the Seven Bridges would be perfected. Ning Cheng had a deep understanding of this point. In fact, when he obtained the first 5 bridges, they were not complete. It was only under his cultivation and the condensation of his Taoist rhymes that the 5 bridges were perfected. Once he collected all 7 bridges and successfully cultivated the 7 bridges spirit technique, the 7 bridges realm book would be completely restored. Only after the 7 bridges realm book was repaired could it be used as a treasure to repair the Tao of reincarnation. Otherwise, even if he found all the other treasures to repair the Grand Essence Realm, he couldn't use the 7 bridges realm book to repair the Tao of samsara. The only thing Ning Cheng wasn't sure about was whether the 7 bridges realm book only repaired the Grand Essence Realm's underworld, or the entire 5 grand realms underworld, or something even larger. However, the thing that bound Ning Cheng with the Tao charm of the other shore and almost made Ning Cheng rush out of the broken red bridge should be the real 6th Paramitha bridge. The 6th other shore bridge was one of the 2 bridges that Ning City didn't have. Although the Tao charm of the 6th opposite shore bridge was getting more and more intense under the other party's control, the 7 bridges realm book was too powerful for the 7 bridges spirit technique. The realm book directly took away the Tao charm of the 6th Paramitha bridge. No matter how much the other party urged it, the Tao charm of the red bridge gradually weakened. Ning Cheng secretly breathed in a sigh of relief. If he didn't have the 7 bridges realm book, he would have ended up in a miserable state after falling into the 6th Paramitha bridge. Apart from entering the mysterious yellow bead, he couldn't think of any other way to break free from the other shore bridge and escape from it. An angry scream erupted from the other side of the Black River. It seemed that this person also knew that he couldn't fight against the Seven Bridges Realm book. After the angry roar, the Tao charm of the sixth shore bridge suddenly weakened, and it started to turn illusory under Ning Cheng's feet. Ning Cheng immediately understood that this person wanted to take away the sixth Permitha bridge. Without the Tao charm shackles of the sixth opposite shore bridge, Ning Cheng felt much more relaxed. He crossed the Black River with a single step, and the divine spear of creation swept up billions of Tao rhymes and killing aura as it blasted towards the opposite bank. Ning Cheng didn't want the other party to take away the sixth opposite shore bridge. Once the other party took away the sixth opposite shore bridge, he would have to work twice as hard to perfect it. As a result, his cultivation of the sixth opposite shore bridge's spirit technique also became much slower. The divine spear of creation's spear intent swept up a monstrous killing aura and blasted towards the person on the opposite bank who had just taken away the sixth opposite shore bridge. In front of the divine spear of creation, a fist that almost covered the entire space suddenly blasted out. If Ning Cheng swept away half of the killing aura between heaven and earth, then the other half was swept away by this fist. Boom! A terrifying muffled explosion erupted between heaven and earth as the fist and Ning Cheng's divine spear of creation collided. The Tao charm split apart and the laws around it collapsed. The violent force slammed into Ning Cheng's divine spear of creation, causing Ning Cheng's chest to feel stuffy. His spiritual consciousness and spirit essence also turned sluggish, and his entire body flew backwards. Cha-cha-ta! The place where Ning Cheng retreated opened up a deep ravine from his killing aura. When Ning Cheng stood still, he looked at the man in front of him in surprise. Previously, he had thought that the other party was just relying on the sixth opposite shore bridge to show off his power. Now, it seemed that the other party was also ridiculously strong. The man in front of him also looked at Ning Cheng in shock. His face was mottled with copper rust, and his facial bones were extremely large. He had long hair that draped over his shoulders, and he was thin and tall. In Ning Cheng's opinion, the man in front of him was already at the Tao integration realm. In front of him, there was a ravine that was the same as the one Ning Cheng had formed when he retreated. The laws between the two of them were reduced to ruins by this clash. You're obviously only at the early stage primordial chaos. Why are you so strong? The long-haired, thin man did not continue to attack Ning Cheng. Instead, he asked Ning Cheng in surprise. Ning Cheng did not answer the man. Instead, he asked, "Tell me first, did you know that I was coming? How did you know that I was coming? And who are you? Are you the one who destroyed the Yin family? If you can tell me this, I can answer your questions." The long-haired, thin man said without hesitation, "I destroyed the Yin family, and I can also give you a piece of information. I destroyed the Yin family because they had the sixth opposite shore bridge. You won't know my name, but I'm Zhong Wuchen. As for how I knew that you were coming, it was because of the sixth opposite shore bridge. Anyone with a lower bridge divine power than the sixth opposite shore bridge would sense this place and come in to deliver the bridge to me." Ning Cheng looked at the long-haired, thin man in front of him in shock. He had not expected that Zhong Wuchen would be here. Others might not know Zhong Wuchen, but he did. Zhong Wuchen was really obsessed with the Seven Bridges' divine power. However, he had not wasted his energy and found the sixth opposite shore bridge. From this, it could be seen how ruthless this guy was. He killed people almost without blinking. It was easy to say that he had destroyed the Yin family for the sixth opposite shore bridge. However, the strange thing was that he had not come here because he had sensed the sixth opposite shore bridge, but because of the broken axe blade of the good fortune indestructible axe. Could it be that Zhong Wuchen had lied to him on purpose? Ning Cheng quickly overturned this idea. Zhong Wuchen shouldn't have deliberately lied to him. It was likely that he had the Seven Bridges Realm book, and the first 5 bridges he cultivated from the Seven Bridges Realm book weren't any weaker than the sixth opposite shore bridge in terms of grade. Of course, there was another possibility. That was, his Tao was stronger than Zhong Wuchen's, and Zhong Wuchen couldn't use this method to lure him over. You can answer my question now. Why are you so powerful even though you are only at Tao Fusion? Also, where did you get the Seven Bridges Realm book? Of the Seven Bridges Spirit Techniques, how many bridges have you learned? Zhong Wuchen asked again when he saw Ning Qing not speaking for a long time. Ning Qing looked up at the Seven Bridges Realm book floating above his head. A vague bridge shadow had already appeared on the 6th page of the Realm book. This bridge shadow was actually the 6th opposite shore bridge with 2 broken sides. Red Spider Lily and Mandara Flower looked at each other across the endless mournful Dao charm. The 6th opposite shore bridge had already reached this level. Even if Zhong Wuchen didn't take out the remaining parts, he could still complete the 6th bridge. At worst, it would just take a bit more time and get a bit tired. My cultivation method is much stronger than yours. That's why I'm so strong in the Dao fusion realm. I obtained the 7 Bridges Spirit technique in the Grand Essence Ruins. So far, I've cultivated a total of 5 bridges. Ning Qing quickly answered Zhong Wuchen's question. His answer was a bit vague. Although he said that he obtained the 7 Bridges Spirit technique in the Grand Essence Ruins, he didn't obtain the 7 Bridges Realm book in the Grand Essence Ruins. Zhong Wuchen didn't care that Ning Qing spoke about the 7 Bridges Spirit technique and not the 7 Bridges Realm book. Just when Zhong Wuchen wanted to continue asking, Ning Qing interrupted him. Now it's my turn to ask you. Zhong Wuchen, since you destroyed the Yin clan, why did you stay in the Yin clan's residence? Why did you even set up a trap here? Did you do those 3 chains? Zhong Wuchen replied with an expressionless face. The reason I stayed here and set up a trap here is because the Yin clan's residence has a peerless Yin vein. You can't find this kind of Yin vein anywhere else. As for setting up a trap, of course, it's to attract more people to send cultivation resources. At the same time, it also provides some Yin souls that I need. That's all. As for those 3 chains, I'm just using them. I don't know who left them behind. After quickly answering Ning Qing's question, Zhong Wuchen suddenly spoke up. You've already cultivated the first 5 bridges of the 7 Bridges Spirit technique. Can we make a deal? You teach me the first 5 bridges of the 7 Bridges Spirit technique, and I'll give you what you need. Zhong Wuchen spoke these words because he felt that he couldn't kill Ning Qing and snatch the 5 bridges from Ning Qing. Ning Qing looked at Zhong Wuchen calmly. Do you think I'm stupid or stupid? What do you have that I need? I've already learned the first 5 bridges of the 7 Bridges Spirit technique. Even the 6th bridge, my 7 Bridges Realm book, has absorbed a lot of Dao charm aura. What else do you have that I need? Do you think that the 7 Bridges Spirit technique is a cabbage that you can get whenever you want? Ning Qing also understood that with the strength Zhong Wuchen showed, it wasn't realistic for him to eat Zhong Wuchen. It was impossible for him to give up the first 5 bridges of the 7 Bridges Spirit technique to Zhong Wuchen. He couldn't stop Zhong Wuchen, and Zhong Wuchen couldn't stop him either. Zhong Wuchen didn't get angry with Ning Qing's words and spoke up with a calm voice. You came to Yin Clan's corner, apart from the 6th bridge. Didn't you also come for the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe's blade fragment? Yes, I came for the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe's blade fragment. But can you give it to me? As far as I know, someone else took away the axe's blade fragment, right? You used the axe's blade fragment as bait. Didn't you think that someone could take it away under your nose? Chapter 1254. Zhong Wuchen didn't care about Ning Qing's tone. Instead, he raised his hand, and a 1-foot-long axe blade fragment appeared in his palm. The axe blade fragment's Dao charm flowed with the aura of the grand Dao of good fortune. Take a look at this. This axe blade fragment was more than twice the length of the axe blade fragment that Jin Xiaobing had taken away. Moreover, the Dao charm flowing around it was much more intense, and the Dao charm of good fortune cultivation method within it was much clearer. Ning Qing looked at the axe blade fragment in Zhong Wuchen's hand in shock. You have another axe blade fragment? More than one? Zhong Wuchen raised his hand again, and 4 fragments of the indestructible axe of different sizes floated around him. The only difference was that these 8 indestructible axe fragments weren't in the axe blade's position. Ning Qing calmed down. Dao friend Zhong, I believe you should know that these are fragments of the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe, right? If you didn't know that these are fragments of the Good Fortune Indestructible Axe, you wouldn't have collected so many of them. Since you know that these are fragments of a good fortune treasure, Why did you take them all out to exchange for my 7 bridges spirit technique? Zhong Wuchen showed a slight smile. You're right. I do know that these are fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe. If you think my price is good enough, then let's exchange them now. As for why I want to exchange, I can find any reason, so it's not the most important thing. Ning Cheng took a deep breath and spoke with a calm tone. I'm sorry. Although I also want these fragments of the indestructible axe, I won't exchange them with the 7 Bridges Realm book. Zhong Wuchen still spoke with a calm tone. Who said that I want your 7 Bridges Realm book? I also know that you won't exchange the 7 Bridges Realm book with me, and I don't need your 7 Bridges Realm book. Ning Cheng frowned. If you don't want the 7 Bridges Realm book, how can you learn the first 5 bridges? Because Ning Cheng had cultivated the first 5 bridges of the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique, he knew that it was impossible to cultivate the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique without the 7 Bridges Realm book. Zhong Wuchen pointed to the 7 Bridges Realm book suspended above Ning Cheng's head and said, I can't take away your 7 Bridges Realm book at this time. You just have to stay here with me for a while and release the 7 Bridges Realm book's restrictions to let my spiritual consciousness comprehend it. Ning Cheng finally understood Zhong Wuchen's meaning. Zhong Wuchen's words made sense. As long as he released the 7 Bridges Realm book's restrictions, with Zhong Wuchen's dedication and research on the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique for so many years, he could indeed comprehend the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique. Ning Cheng wasn't worried that Wuchen would take away the 7 Bridge Realm book. His Sea of Consciousness was powerful, and he even had the dark nether devouring spirit scroll that he had modified. Even if Zhong Wuchen suddenly wanted to snatch his 7 Bridges Realm book, he wouldn't be able to take it away. It was just that he was poisoned. Staying here to accompany Zhong Wuchen to waste time was not an option. He indeed wanted the good fortune indestructible axe's blade fragment and the other fragments. No matter how much he wanted it, he couldn't risk his life. For Cheng, Yang Heaven Chung Cheng's sect long ago, but in he, and of occultive saint sect, Cheng's long ago. For Chen, Yang of Cheng in 3 years. 3 Etchen of 3 years. For a starry sky cultivator, 3 years was just a blink of an eye. Ning Cheng, who was still hesitating, spoke up after hearing Zhong Wuchen's words. I don't want to trade with you. You can put away your good fortune indestructible axe fragment. Although Zhong Wuchen felt a little anxious before, he was sure that Ning Cheng would trade with him. But Ning Cheng actually refused, which surprised him. This was a profitable venture, so why wouldn't he be willing? Do you find it strange that I'm willing to trade with you with these good fortune indestructible axe fragments? You should know that these are good fortune treasure fragments, and any one of them is a priceless treasure. Why don't you want to trade? If I didn't care about the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique, I'm sure no one would take out so many good fortune indestructible axe fragments to trade with you for 5 of the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique. Zhong Wuchen spoke with a hurried tone. If others didn't want to trade with him, he could easily kill them. With Ning Cheng's strength, if Ning Cheng didn't want to trade with him, he could only watch Ning Cheng leave. Ning Cheng nodded. That's right. You don't even want the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe. There must be a problem. This is one of the reasons why I don't want to trade. Unless you tell me the real reason why you don't want the fragments of the indestructible axe. Of course, if you want to lie, I can tell. Hearing that Ning Cheng had many reasons for not wanting to trade, Zhong Wuchen felt really helpless. This was not like any other business. If this shop didn't want to trade, then he could just find another shop. Ning Cheng was the only shop with the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique. There was no other branch. Even if he wanted to find someone who was willing, he would still need to find someone with the 7 Bridges Spirit Technique. Seeing Ning Cheng turn around to leave, Zhong Wuchen suddenly spoke up. I can tell you the origin of these 3 chains, and who controls these 3 chains. As for the reason why I don't want the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe, I can only tell you after I finish cultivating the 5 Bridges Spirit Technique. Ning Cheng's heart moved. What he wanted to know the most was the origin of these 3 chains and the black altar. If it were any other time, he would have agreed. But now that he was poisoned, he couldn't afford to delay for too long. After hesitating for a while, Ning Cheng spoke up. It's not impossible for you to cultivate the 5 Bridges Spirit Technique, But there are two conditions. First, I can't stay here. If you want to cultivate the 5 bridges spirit technique, then you have to follow me. Wherever I go, you have to follow me. Zhong Wuchen spoke up helplessly. It's not that I don't want to go with you, but there is a peerless yin vein here. Moreover, I can't take away this peerless yin vein. Once I go with you, then it would take twice the effort for me to cultivate. Ningqing didn't care about it and spoke up. You can always come back to cultivate in the future. No one would snatch this peerless yin vein from you. The second condition is that you have to tell me the origin of these 3 chains and the black altar. Okay, I agree. Zhong Wuchen hesitated for a moment before gritting his teeth and speaking up. With that, he raised his hand and shot out a forbidden contract talisman. Ningqing did not hesitate this time and engraved a Dao charm on the forbidden contract talisman. Seeing the forbidden contract talisman disappear, Zhong Wuchen simply threw the 5 fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe to Ningqing, including the axe blade fragment. After Ningqing put away the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe in a jade box, he directly shot out dozens of array flags and placed them over the Black River. The Black River, which originally remained in place, suddenly started to tumble under Ningqing's array flags. In just half an incense stick worth of time, the Black River, which couldn't be seen at a glance, completely disappeared from Ningqing's 7 Bridges Realm book. Zhong Wuchen's expression turned a little ugly. The Black River was part of the 6th Other Shore Bridge. Who told him to not have the 7 Bridges Realm book to take away this Black River? Although he could bring out the Black River after taking control of the 6th Other Shore Bridge, that Black River and this Black River couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Now that he wanted to comprehend the 5 Bridges spirit technique from Ningqing, he naturally couldn't say anything to Ningqing. He could only watch Ningqing put away the Black River. Ningqing put away the Black River and smiled at Zhong Wuchen, who had an ugly expression on his face. Dao friend Zhong, you can now tell me the origin of the 3 chains and the altar. The 3 chains were used to collect the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe. What? Zhong Wuchen had just spoken when Ningqing interrupted him. Collect the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe? They were obviously looking for him, all right? Zhong Wuchen seemed to understand Ningqing's doubts. He suddenly raised his hand and pulled at the void. The 3 chains that Ningqing had burned off previously appeared in front of Ningqing. In addition, there was also the black altar. Zhong Wuchen pointed to the black altar and the 3 chains and said, "Do you know why? Because the original owner of the good fortune indestructible axe was the Pan clan, the owner of the purest ancient giant bloodline. After the fall of the Pan clan in the ancient good fortune war, the good fortune indestructible axe disintegrated along with its owner. Later, someone wanted to gather all the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe and reform the good fortune indestructible axe. But to reform the good fortune indestructible axe, only a member of the Pan clan with the purest ancient giant bloodline appeared. I don't know how that person managed to capture the descendant of the Pan clan with the purest ancient giant bloodline and nailed him to the void, using his blood to attract the good fortune fragments scattered across the vast universe." Ningqing clenched his fists and felt extremely angry in his heart. He finally understood why Pan Qian ended up nailed to the void. At the same time, that person used a blood pool to absorb his essence blood. It turned out to be a means to reform the good fortune indestructible axe and collect the fragments of the good fortune indestructible axe. But I don't know what happened. I happened to see 3 broken chains in the void, along with this black altar. It turned out to be an altar. After I took away a few fragments of the good fortune fragments, only this altar remained. As Zhong Wuchen spoke until here, he looked at the 3 chains on the ground and shook his head. In my opinion, even if these 3 chains had not been cut off, it would not have been possible to reform the good fortune indestructible axe. How powerful was the Pan clan in the past? How pure and noble was their bloodline? Countless years later, even if their bloodline was pure, it would still be very thin. Being able to attract a few fragments of the good fortune fragments was already a great joy. I reckon that after many years, the person who used this method also knew that his method would not work, so he simply did not care about it. In the end, I ended up picking up a bargain in the void. Seeing that Ning Qing seemed to have some thoughts in his mind, Zhong Wuchen pointed to the 3 chains and said, "Don't underestimate these 3 chains. If they had not been cut off by someone, even if your flame had advanced to the sacred flame, I'm afraid that it would not have been able to burn them. At least, it would not have burned them so quickly. Because these 3 chains had been cut off by someone, the Tao charm laws within them started to dissipate, causing them to grow weaker and weaker. Now, these 3 chains, as well as this altar, can be considered as my free gift to you. Thank you." Ning Qing raised his hand and put away the 3 chains and the altar. Only he knew in his heart that Pan Qian had cut off these 3 chains using the dagger he had given to Pan Qian. He also didn't know why that person had nailed Pan Qian's eyes to the bottom of a lake in a low-level interface. Chapter 12:55. That peerless in vain. Ning Cheng had just spoken a few words when Zhong Wuchen quickly waved his hand and spoke, "You don't have any use for this thing. The peerless in vain might be useful for the first few bridges of the 7 bridges spiritual technique, but it won't be of much use for the later ones. You've already cultivated more than half of the 7 bridges divine art, so you don't need such low-level stuff." Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. Was a peerless in vain a low-level thing? This Zhong Wuchen really knew how to lie. The reason why this fellow gave him the 3 chains and the black altar was probably because he was afraid that Mo Wuji would covet the peerless in pulse. Ning Cheng was just asking about it. In fact, he did not intend to collect the peerless in vain in this place. For this in vain, Zhong Wuchen ruthlessly destroyed the entire In clan. If he wanted this in vain, Zhong Wuchen would probably fall out with him immediately. "Alright, I'll give this one to you. I want to leave this place, let's go together." As Ning Cheng finished, his figure flashed, and his whole person stepped out. Without Zhong Wuchen messing around, this place really posed no threat to him. Zhong Wuchen, on hearing Ning Cheng's words, almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This in vain originally belonged to him, yet Ning Cheng spoke as if it was a gift to him. "We might have to be together for a few years. Can we call each other Dao friends in the future?" Zhong Wuchen followed Ning Cheng out of Yin Clan's corner. In order to learn Ning Cheng's 7 bridges spiritual technique, he felt that he could not put up with more grievances. Ning Cheng lightly replied, "My name is Ning Cheng, you can call me whatever you want." Even if Ning Cheng's cultivation reached a higher level after entering Yin Clan's corner, the Thousand Thunder Merchant House's shopkeeper would not care about him. Were there any examples of people coming out after entering Yin Clan's corner? I don't think so. At this time, Ning Cheng and Zhong Wuchen had already left the 1,000-meter Void City and passed through another Void City before entering the Void again. "Dao friend Ning, isn't this the Starry Sky Wheel? It's a top-grade flight-type weapon. Dao friend Ning possesses the 7 Bridges Realm Book and the Starry Sky Wheel. You truly are a person with great opportunities." Zhong Wuchen patted the railing on the edge of the Starry Sky Wheel and spoke with admiration. Ning Cheng could see that Zhong Wuchen's face didn't show even the slightest expression of admiration and understood that he wasn't interested in the Starry Sky Wheel. The reason why Ning Cheng exclaimed in admiration was to remind him that he should take out the 7 Bridges Realm Book and let him comprehend the spirit techniques of the previous 5 bridges. "Does fellow Taoist Zhong like my flying magic treasure? If you like it?" Not waiting for Ning Cheng to finish, Zhong Wuchen quickly waved his hand and spoke, "I don't like it, I don't like it." He was afraid that Ning Cheng would say that he would give the Starry Sky Wheel to him, and then say that their deal was over. How could Ning Cheng give the Starry Sky Wheel to Zhong Wuchen? This fellow truly thought too much. Ning Cheng showed a smile. "Old Zhong, don't you think my Starry Sky Wheel is not good? Why not?" Zhong Wuchen spoke with a tangled voice. "The Starry Sky Wheel is good, but unfortunately, the current Starry Sky Wheel is incomplete and doesn't have an artifact spirit." Ning Cheng couldn't help but praise this old man in his heart. This old man truly had a terrifying vision. Ning Cheng didn't know that the Starry Sky Wheel did not have an artifact spirit, yet Zhong Wuchen could see through it with just a glance. Ning Cheng also didn't know where Mang Yong was right now. If he could find that fellow, he might be able to obtain the Starry Sky Wheel's artifact spirit. No matter how fast Mang Yong's cultivation speed was, He should not reach the primordial chaos realm. Seeing Zhong Wuchen hesitating to speak, Ning Cheng interrupted Zhong Wuchen again. By the way, fellow Taoist Zhong, do you know about the Mirage Sea Crossing Crystal and the stainless water? Zhong Wuchen looked at Ning Cheng in amazement. Are you looking for the divine law's grass that can cure the salvation adversity poison? Ning Cheng looked at Zhong Wuchen in amazement. Fellow Taoist Zhong, do you know that these two things can cure the salvation adversity poison? How come I don't know about it? Zhong Wuchen sighed and said, I know that these two things can cure the salvation adversity poison because I once had a friend who fell victim to the salvation adversity poison. He used these two kinds of divine law's grass to detoxify the poison. As a result, he managed to suppress the salvation adversity poison for a while. But in the end, he couldn't contain the salvation adversity poison and died. These two kinds of divine law's grass can cure the salvation adversity poison. Where did you see them? Ning Cheng couldn't wait to ask. He didn't even think that a sinister fellow like Zhong Wuchen would have friends. Ning Cheng hadn't read about the detoxification method for the salvation adversity poison in the Universe Vegetation book. Later, he deduced the detoxification method through his own Tao. Zhong Wuchen replied calmly, because my friend was an expert in the Tao of alchemy, and he came up with it himself. In addition to these two kinds of divine law's grass, there are also many auxiliary divine grasses. In fact, the pill recipe he came up with couldn't perfectly cure the salvation adversity poison. Otherwise, he wouldn't have died from the poison. Ning Cheng remained silent. The universe was vast, and there were too many powerhouses. The reason why Zhong Wuchen's friend in the Tao of alchemy died from the poison wasn't because his Tao of alchemy wasn't as good as his, but because his luck wasn't as good as his. He had the good fortune treasure, the good fortune mysterious yellow bead, to deduce the detoxification method for the salvation adversity poison. Moreover, the other party deduced that the salvation adversity poison required the illusory sea crossing crystal and taintless water. If he hadn't gone to the land of broken laws, mastered the spirit technique of breaking laws, and obtained the bestowing lawless fruit, he probably wouldn't have been able to deduce the bestowing lawless fruit. Previously, Ning Cheng felt confident that he could detoxify the salvation adversity poison as long as he could find these three things and some auxiliary divine grasses. But now, Ning Cheng felt a trace of shadow in his heart. Did the salvation adversity poison have detoxification divine grasses that he couldn't deduce? Seeing Ning Cheng fall silent again, Zhong Wuchen took the initiative to speak up. Actually, I know of a place with the illusory sea crossing crystal. Where? Ning Cheng asked eagerly. Zhong Wuchen also started to hesitate, and his words seemed to be a little hesitant. Ning Cheng wasn't in the mood to play hide-and-seek with Zhong Wuchen. Instead, he directly brought out the Seven Bridges Realm book and opened the Seven Bridges Realm book's spiritual sense restriction. Tao friend Zhong, just tell me where the illusory sea crossing crystal is. You don't have to worry about anything else. I'll hurry over. You're in a tight spot, so you should hurry up and comprehend the first 5 bridges of the 7 bridges spirit technique. The illusory sea crossing crystal is in the depths of the Jiaoliang mountain. You can even see the Jiaoliang Sea after crossing the mountain. The Jiaoliang Sea is a bit broken after the battle between powerhouses, but it's still possible to find the illusory sea crossing crystal inside. After seeing the Seven Bridges Realm book, Zhong Wuchen quickly told Ning Cheng the location of the illusory sea crossing crystal. Then he stepped under the Seven Bridges Realm book and took out several array discs to protect him. The next moment, his entire body disappeared into the array discs. From this, one could see his eagerness and yearning for the Seven Bridges spirit technique. Ning Cheng couldn't help but sigh at Zhong Wuchen's confidence. When Mang Yong told him about crossing the Jiaoliang mountain, he felt as if he was walking on thin ice. The thing he had to consider the most was that he had to be careful. If he wasn't careful, he could fall. Ning Cheng had heard that even Tao perfection experts had to be very careful when crossing the Jiaoliang mountain. Zhong Wuchen just told him that it was possible to find the illusory sea crossing crystal after crossing the Jiaoliang mountain. Then he directly went to comprehend the Seven Bridges spirit technique. As for whether he crossed the Jiaoliang mountain or not, It didn't seem to affect Zhong Wuchen at all. 3 months later, Ning Cheng appeared outside the fallen immortal square void market, the closest place to the Jiaoyang mountain. Just like the outside, the fallen immortal square void market had a constant flow of starry sky cultivators. These starry sky cultivators entering and exiting the fallen immortal square void market either carried some void aura or a bloody killing aura. Ning Cheng wasn't in the mood to care about Zhong Wuchen, who was still immersed in his comprehension. He raised his hand and put away the Seven Bridges Realm book. Old Zhong, we're here. I'm going to the fallen immortal square void market to post a task, and then we'll enter the Jiaoyang mountain. Zhong Wuchen felt very reluctant. At the most critical moment of his comprehension, Ning Cheng suddenly put away the Seven Bridges Realm book. It felt as if he had eaten a bunch of flies. Of course, I'll give priority to your matters. Zhong Wuchen put away the fallen immortal square void market with a flattering smile. Ning Cheng put away the starry sky wheel and walked into the fallen immortal square void market. Then, he asked calmly, Old Zhong, you could have prevented that kid from taking away the axe blade fragment of the good fortune indestructible axe. Why did you give it up? That thing might not be valuable to you, but you shouldn't waste it like that, right? The more Ning Cheng thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. He felt that even if Zhong Wuchen wanted to deal with him, Zhen Xiaobing wouldn't be able to take away that axe blade fragment. Zhong Wuchen's face turned a little black. In fact, he really couldn't stop it. However, he had already placed a spiritual sense mark on that axe blade fragment. It would be impossible for a puny Dao transformation holy emperor to find his spiritual sense mark. Once he finished comprehending the Seven Bridges spirit technique from Ning Cheng, he would have to spit it out. Of course, Ning Cheng didn't eat it. Ning Cheng was too strong and mysterious. Zhong Wuchen couldn't deal with him right now. The Dao charm of that purple cloud was very strange. I was dealing with you at the time, so I really didn't have the energy to stop it. Zhong Wuchen replied. As for the spiritual sense mark, he didn't say anything. Ning Cheng had also taken 5 of his good fortune fragments. He couldn't let Ning Cheng think that his good fortune fragments also had a spiritual sense mark. Zhong Wuchen spoke honestly, but Ning Cheng guessed that Zhong Wuchen wasn't that honest. He was just about to speak when he suddenly sensed the aura of Mang Yong's communication pearl. Ning Cheng deliberately took out the communication pearl and released the news of his arrival. Sure enough, after a while, Mang Yong rushed out of the fallen immortal square void market and greeted Ning Cheng from afar. Taoist Ning, that's great, that's great. Mang Yong had indeed advanced to the primordial Dao realm, and his early-stage primordial Dao runes were very condensed. After Ning Cheng reached primordial Dao realm, his great Dao and heaven-earth law had merged. People weaker than him couldn't see his cultivation level. Even though Mang Yong had advanced to a primordial Dao divine emperor, he couldn't see Ning Cheng's true strength. Taoist Ning, you really don't care about who your friends are. This kid is just a primordial Dao. Zhong Wuchen shook his head when he saw Mang Yong. Ning Cheng smiled slightly. That's natural. Just like you, have you succeeded in creating a realm? Even if you haven't, you're not far off, right? I'm just an early-stage primordial Dao realm cultivator. Why don't you follow me around? Chapter 1256. In front of Ning Cheng, Zhong Wuchen did not dare to show even the slightest dissatisfaction. No matter what Ning Cheng said, he had to pinch his nose and accept it. Brother Ning, your cultivation has made great progress. Mang Yong found that he couldn't see through Ning Cheng's strength. However, he didn't think that Ning Cheng had reached Dao-confirming Dao fusion. In his opinion, Ning Cheng was most likely still a Dao transformation cultivator, but he had an extremely powerful concealment cultivation method. Concealing his cultivation level was obviously so that others could not see through his confidence. Of course, it was also possible that Ning Cheng had advanced to the Dao essence realm and then hid his cultivation. From fellow Daoist Ning to brother Ning, Mang Yong's words did not seem abrupt at all. You're not bad either, your cultivation has also made great progress. Ning Cheng chuckled. Mang Yong also laughed. After my cultivation improved a little, I've been waiting here for you. I've made a few friends recently, and I'm planning to visit Mount Jiaoliang. Saying that, Meng Yong's gaze fell on Zhong Wuchen beside Ning Cheng. Brother Ning, who is this? Zhong Wuchen's strength was too strong. Meng Yong couldn't see through it at all. Ning Cheng patted Meng Yong's shoulder and spoke, Brother Mang, you don't have to worry about this person. We can talk about our own matters. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Meng Yong immediately understood in his heart that he was just a follower. Brother Ning, I have reserved a private room in front of the Void Rest Stop. Let's go in and talk in detail. Sure enough, Meng Yong didn't pay any more attention to Zhong Wuchen as he pointed to a tall rest stop not far away. I have no problem with it. Brother Mang, please lead the way. Ning Cheng spoke with a smile while reaching out his hand. Meng Yong was in a hurry to find him, but he also wanted to ask Meng Yong about the location of the Starry Sky Wheel's artifact spirit. The Void Inn was indeed the largest inn in the Void City of the fallen immortal boat. This place had the best private rooms, the best service, and the best divine spirit tea and wine. Following Meng Yong into the Void Rest Stop, Ning Cheng understood that Meng Yong had not been here for a day or two. Otherwise, it would be difficult to find an empty seat in the hall, let alone a private room. Meng Yong's private room wasn't small, and there was already a man and a woman inside. The man was at the mid-stage primordial Dao realm, while the woman was at the early-stage primordial Dao realm. The man was of medium build and looked rather ordinary. His skin was dark and his Dao runes were restrained. It was obvious that he was not weak. The woman's face was cold and incomparably delicate. Her slightly round oval face made her cold and aloof look a little gentler. Ning Cheng always felt that this woman's cultivation was at the early-stage Dao essence realm, but she was even more terrifying. When the two of them saw Meng Yong bring people in, they didn't stand up. Meng Yong quickly spoke up, Brother Ning, these two are our like-minded friends, Duan Guanyu and Shin Xiuing. Brother Duan, senior apprentice Sister Shin, this is the fellow Taoist Ning I've been telling you about. The two of them still did not stand up and just cupped their hands towards Ning Cheng from their seats. As for Zhong Wuchen, he was directly ignored by everyone. Zhong Wuchen did not care. Even if they did not ignore him, he was not interested in getting to know a few primordial Dao weaklings. Ning Cheng also casually cupped his hands before sitting down. Zhong Wuchen was very self-aware. He simply sat on the seat next to him, closed his eyes, and thought about the insights he gained from the first bridge of coping. He followed Ning Cheng with only one purpose, that is to comprehend the 7 bridges spiritual technique. Everything else was like floating clouds to him. After Meng Yong sat down, he poured a cup of divine tea for Ning Cheng and said, Brother Duan, senior apprentice Sister Shin, plus Brother Ning and me, we have a total of 4 people. I think we should be able to cross the Jiaoliang mountain. Shen Xiuing suddenly looked at Ning Cheng and said in a cold voice, I don't care about adding one more person, but I want to know if that person is qualified to cross the Jiaoliang mountain with me. Meng Yong frowned slightly. Everyone is a friend, and I'm the one who brought us together. Everyone has their own use. I understand everyone's strength. Moreover, if we cross the Jiaoliang mountain this time, those without the ability would naturally fall. I believe that since everyone is willing to join, they should have a certain amount of confidence in their own strength. You can't say that. A strong teammate can make us a lot safer. Duan Guanyu suddenly spoke up, clearly supporting Shin Xiuing. Although Duan Guanyu spoke with the same expressionless face as Shin Xiuing's words had a woman's coldness to them. Moreover, Duan Guanyu's words had nothing to do with his name. I don't have to go with you. Brother Mang just needs to tell me where the things I need are. Ning Cheng spoke up in a calm voice, not caring about Shin Xiuing and Duan Guanyu's words. Meng Yong quickly spoke up to Ning Cheng. Brother Ning, rest assured. If it's yours, it will definitely be yours. With that, Meng Yong looked at Duan Guanyu and Shin Xiuing and spoke up in a cold tone. If the 2 Dao friends look down on me, Meng Yong, then please leave. If you look up to me, Meng Yong, then let's all work together. Ning Cheng looked at Meng Yong with some surprise. Meng Yong was the weakest among them, and even spoke politely before. He thought that Meng Yong had the lowest status among the 3. But now it seems that Meng Yong was not the lowest, but but the highest. Sure enough, after Mang Yong finished his sentence, Duan Guanyu and Shen Xiuing did not speak anymore. Mang Yong softened his tone. I understand Brother Duan and Senior Apprentice Sister Shen's concerns, but what I said before. At this point, Mang Yong subconsciously stopped and looked at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng understood Mang Yong's meaning and waved his hand with a smile. Brother Mang, you can speak freely. You don't have to care about this follower of mine. He is the kind of person who listens to one ear and comes out with the other. Mang Yong nodded and continued. The third step of Tao confirming is the highest goal that every cultivator pursues. Moreover, the Jiaoliang mountain hides the secret of the third step. It's not that I, Mang Yong, want to brag, but only a few people know about it. Even if they know about it, it's not as detailed as what I know. Many people know about it and want to cross the Jiaoliang mountain. However, the result is only one path, death. Since I asked everyone to form a team, it means that I have my own purpose. If we can't work together, then we might as well not go there. Hearing about the third step of Tao confirming, even Zhong Wuchen looked up at Mang Yong. Shen Xiuing was the most straightforward. After Mang Yong finished speaking, she stood up. In that case, let's not hesitate anymore. Let's go now. Mang Yong nodded. Senior Apprentice Sister Shin is right. I still have to explain why I invited Brother Ning. Brother Ning has a top-grade flight-type weapon that can cross the Jiaoliang mountain. Without Brother Ning, it would be more dangerous for us to cross the Jiaoliang mountain. After that, Mang Yong turned to Ning Cheng and said, Brother Ning, the reason why I invited Brother Duan is that Brother Duan is a top-grade array Tao expert. Senior Apprentice Sister Shin. This time, without waiting for Mang Yong to finish, Shen Xiuing stood up and raised her hand to stop him. Senior Apprentice Brother Mang, it's fine as long as you know that I'm of some use. There's no need to go into such detail. Mang Yong frowned but did not continue speaking. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. Since we're forming a team, then we need to say what we're good at, so that we each have our own details. Otherwise, I might as well cross the Jiaoliang mountain alone. Shen Xiuing spoke up in a cold voice. In that case, I'll tell you myself. I'm a cultivator with no spiritual root. After crossing the Jiaoliang mountain, only I can find a place with complete laws. At the same time, I can also find the strongest and weakest law fluctuations. No attributes? Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. If Esau's Tao companion, Shu Rui, had no meridians, then it would be hard to find one in a trillion. However, a cultivator with no spiritual root was hard to find even one in a trillion. Moreover, such a cultivator could not grow up at all. Even if such a cultivator grew up, he or she would always be the target of people's attention. Because cultivators with no attributes could purify all kinds of starry sky spiritual roots, it was similar to the spiritual grafting of the 9 revolutions sacred Tao pond. However, a cultivator with no spiritual root was tens of thousands of times stronger than a spiritual grafting. Such a woman with no spiritual root could completely purify any male cultivator's spiritual root. One could purify one's own things, while the other could graft someone else's things. The advantages and disadvantages could be easily seen. This was only useful in helping others with their spiritual roots. Once a cultivator with no spiritual root succeeded in cultivating it, their strength would crush those in the same realm. Even skipping levels to fight would be a trivial matter. Zhong Wuchen, who stood on the side, once again showed a surprised look. He didn't expect to see a cultivator with no spiritual root here. However, this kind of cultivator with no spiritual root basically didn't have much use for him right now. His strength had already grown so strong that it wasn't just a matter of spiritual roots, but also his own perception of the heaven and earth Tao. Ning Cheng thought to himself, this woman, Shen Xiuing, is quite confident. She even exposed that she has no spiritual root. Since this woman could survive until now, she shouldn't be a simple person. Thinking about it, Shu Rui had Esau behind her, and she was also an early-stage primordial chaos cultivator. Under such circumstances, she had also been taken away. Since she had no spiritual root, Ning Cheng also guessed that Shen Xiuing could fight people in a higher realm. Apart from him and Zhong Wuchen, Shen Xiuying was probably the strongest among the few people here. Even Duan Guanyu, who was at the middle stage primordial Dao realm, might not be Shen Xiuying's opponent. Thinking about Mang Yong's strength, Ning Cheng understood that although Duan Guanyu's cultivation was the highest among the three of them, but in this place, his strength might be the weakest. Brother Ning, what do you think? Mang Yong felt very satisfied when he saw Ning Cheng's surprised face. When he had first learned that Shen Xiuying had no spiritual root, he had also been as surprised as Ning Cheng. He even wanted to take this woman down and ask her to help purify his spiritual root. Ning Cheng nodded. I have no objections. He clapped his hands in satisfaction. Since no one has any objections, I think we should leave now to avoid all kinds of situations in the future. Wait a little longer. After saying that, Ning Cheng took out a jade slip and threw it to Zhong Wuchen. Go to the Void City's mission posting place and help me post this mission. Ning Cheng had given Zhong Wuchen a mission to find the illusory sea crystal and the pure water. Ning Cheng had even posted such missions in the unknown small Void City. The immortal falling boat's Void City was close to the Jiaoliang mountain, so the probability of these two treasures appearing was very high. How could Ning Cheng not post the news? Chapter 1257. Seeing Zhong Wuchen obediently take the jade slip and leave, Shen Xiuying suddenly frowned and said, "This person is also coming with us?" Mang Yong did not speak this time and instead looked at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. Don't look at my follower's vague Dao charm. It looks like he's only at the early stage Dao essence realm. In fact, he's very strong. The reason why the Dao runes are blurry is because he is comprehending a new divine ability. Once he learns it, his strength will probably far surpass mine. Ning Cheng's words were not an exaggeration. He had a hunch in his heart that Zhong Wuchen was so obsessed with comprehending the Seven Bridges spirit technique. Perhaps it was not just because he liked this spirit technique. Zhong Wuchen might have borrowed the Seven Bridges sacred art to construct his own world. Once Zhong Wuchen learned the Seven Bridges divine art, it might be time for him to reach the third step of Dao validation. Although Ning Cheng did not know how powerful Zhong Wuchen was after reaching the third step of Dao validation, he felt that he was much stronger than Feng Huangmei from heavens beyond. Shen Xiuying stared into Ning Cheng's eyes. Dao friend Ning, the last time Dao friend Mang Yong saw you, you were a late-stage Dao transformation cultivator. Daoist Mang said that you are very strong, so I believe that you should be able to prove your Dao essence. But this time, we're forming a team to traverse the Jiaoliang mountain alone. You're the only one with a helper who's about the same cultivation level as us. Isn't this a little inappropriate? Shen Xiuying's words had not yet finished. When Mang Yong saw Ning Cheng frowning, he quickly tried to smooth things over and spoke. Elder brother Ning, senior apprentice sister Shin means that if your friend does not want to go with us, then let him stay here. Duan Guanyu nodded as well. Junior sister Shin is right. Since everyone is teaming up to traverse the Jiaoliang Void Mountain, we should follow the rules. Ning Cheng understood the meaning behind these people's words. It was clear that they did not trust him. Once everyone quarreled over a certain treasure, he had two people on his side, so he clearly had the upper hand. It was obviously unrealistic to let Zhong Wuchen stay in the Void City of the fallen ferry boat. It would be fine if Zhong Wuchen was really his follower, but the key was that Zhong Wuchen was not his follower. Seeing the few people looking at him, Ning Cheng suddenly spoke up. The reason why I joined this group is because I have a top-grade flight-type magical weapon. Brother Mang, when we return, do you still want to use my flying magic treasure? Mang Yong replied, there is no need for that. However, I have an agreement with Brother Ning. Naturally, I will accompany Brother Ning on this trip. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. Many thanks, Brother Mang. As for accompanying me, let's forget about it. How about this? After we pass through Mount Jiaoliang, we'll go our separate ways. I'll bring my follower with me and won't go with the three of you. We have other things to do and must bring this follower with us. Is that all right? Mang Yong looked at Ning Cheng in doubt and asked, if that's the case, then wouldn't Brother Ning suffer a big loss? Ning Cheng chuckled and spoke, It's good to eat a bit of a loss. It's much better than others always thinking about me and taking advantage of me. Seeing Duan Guanyu and Shen Xiuying not speaking, Meng Yong hesitated for a while, before suddenly speaking up. In that case, then I will have to trouble Brother Ning. When we part ways, I will definitely hand over the things that Brother Ning needs to Brother Ning. If Brother Ning does not feel at ease, then I can establish a contract with you. Ning Cheng waved his hand. No, I believe in Brother Mang. Brother Mang will definitely give it to me when the time comes. I'm not worried about that. Okay, Brother Ning, I'll make friends with you. Meng Yong spoke up. He felt regretful that he could not accompany Ning Cheng to find the Starry Sky Wheel's artifact spirit. In fact, he really cared about Ning Cheng's Starry Sky Wheel. If this Starry Sky Wheel belonged to him, then he would at least be twice as safe walking through the vast void. With Ning Cheng's words, even Duan Guanyu and Shen Xiuying did not have anything to nitpick about. Just as the scene turned awkward, Zhong Wuchen returned. What puzzled Ning Cheng was that there was another person behind Zhong Wuchen. This person looked like a Dao Transformation Realm cultivator, but the Dao charm around his body was powerful and gave off a bloody murderous aura. His long yellow hair draped over his shoulders, making him look extremely free and at ease. Zhong, who is this? Ning Cheng looked at this Dao Transformation Holy Emperor and asked in doubt. Zhong Wuchen smiled. I had just issued the task in the quest hall when this fellow said that he knew the specific location of the illusory sea crossing crystal. Although I know where the illusory sea crossing crystal is, I don't have the specific location. The place I mentioned might not be found even after many years. Since this person knows the specific location, I brought him back. But this person has been possessed before, and it wasn't just once. Be careful when you ask. Don't get tricked by him. Hearing Zhong Wuchen's words, the yellow-haired man was slightly shocked. He looked at Zhong Wuchen in surprise. This fellow could tell that he had been possessed before? One had to know that many primordial chaos holy emperors and even Dao integration powerhouses might not be able to see this. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on this long-haired man. To be honest, he felt that this Dao transformation holy emperor was a bit strange. As for whether this was a possession or not, he wasn't sure. The long-haired man saw Ning Cheng's gaze fall on him and didn't dare to neglect. He quickly stepped forward and said with cupped fists, "This junior is Peng Yu. I've been wandering in the void, so I know." Ning Cheng raised his hand to stop Peng Yu and said to Meng Yong and the other two, "Since everyone is fine, I suggest we leave now." "I agree." Shen Xiuying was the first to respond to Ning Cheng. The reason she stayed on the fallen immortal boat was to cross Jiaoliang Mountain. Just like Ning Cheng, she also had her own things to do. Crossing Jiaoliang Mountain was not only to find the Dao charm laws of ancient powerhouses, but also to find a cultivation method that belonged to her. People without spiritual roots could cultivate several times faster than others, or even dozens of times faster. At the same time, the resources they needed were far more than others. These resources included cultivation methods. After the 6 people left the fallen immortal market square and Ning Cheng brought out the Starry Sky Wheel, Shen Xiuying and Duan Guanyu understood why Meng Yong invited Ning Cheng to join them. Not to mention that the speed of the Starry Sky Wheel would reduce countless dangers for them, it would also save them a lot of time. If they knew that Ning Cheng had such a flight-type weapon, they would never have objected. Duan Guanyu vaguely glanced at Zhong Wuchen, who had activated the restrictions the moment he stepped onto the Starry Sky Wheel. It seemed like he was trying to understand some kind of cultivation method within an array formation. In the end, he forcibly suppressed the terrifying idea of wanting the Starry Sky Wheel. He knew Meng Yong's shrewdness and means. If the Starry Sky Wheel was so easy to obtain, Meng Yong would not have invited Ning Cheng and would have directly obtained the Starry Sky Wheel. Don't look at Meng Yong's polite and gentlemanly appearance. The Starry Sky Wheel was spacious, and with Ning Cheng controlling the Starry Sky Wheel, everyone arranged temporary cultivation rooms on the deck without disturbing each other. Ning Cheng called Peng Yu in front of him. "You said that you know where the illusory sea crossing crystal is?" Peng Yu replied respectfully, replying to Senior, "Yes. I have an impression of the Jiaoliang Sea. Only the Jiaoliang Sea has the illusory sea crossing crystal. But the Jialiang Sea is boundless. With Senior's heaven-defying means, it would take hundreds of years to search through the entire Jialiang Sea. If this junior leads the way, finding the illusory sea crossing crystal would be a piece of cake. Ning Cheng cursed in his heart. This Zhong Wuchen was truly unreliable. This fellow only said that the Jialiang Sea had the illusory sea crossing crystal, but he didn't say how difficult it was to find it. In any case, this fellow followed behind him. As long as he had the Seven Bridges Realm book to comprehend it, this fellow probably didn't care about finding the illusory sea crossing crystal. As for finding Peng Yu, maybe he was afraid that Ning Cheng would drag him to find the illusory sea crossing crystal and waste his time. Therefore, Ning Cheng decided to find someone to help him find the illusory sea crossing crystal. If Peng Yu really knew the location of the illusory sea crossing crystal, it wouldn't be a bad idea. However, Ning Cheng was afraid that this Zhong Wuchen would just brush it off. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng's face sank. Peng Yu, are you talking nonsense? How steep and dangerous is the Jialiang Mountain? With your cultivation, how could you cross the Jialiang Mountain? Peng Yu spoke up calmly. That Senior Zhong also pointed out that this junior had possessed a body before. This junior had indeed been possessed, and it wasn't just once. Because of this junior knew a bit about the situation in the Jialiang Mountain. Tell me honestly about this matter. If there's even half a word of deviation, don't blame me for being impolite. Ning Cheng spoke with a cold tone. This junior doesn't dare. Peng Yu quickly spoke up. This junior cultivated in a relatively ordinary immortal world positional plane. This junior's aptitude and perception of the Tao were also quite good. After countless years of hard cultivation and wandering between life and death, this junior finally succeeded in sculpting his Tao. Unfortunately, the positional plane where this junior came from was too low. Although this junior succeeded in sculpting his Tao, he couldn't find the proper method and ended up with a lot of sequelae. Go on, what happened next? Ning Cheng nodded. He believed what Peng Yu said. Sculpting one's Tao in the starry sky of a low-level positional plane, even if one obtained the proper method, the laws wouldn't be suitable. Sculpting one's Tao using the laws of a low-level positional plane would cause one's Tao to deform. It could even restrict one's future development, or even directly disintegrate. Later, this junior decided to make a brave decision. Taking advantage of a serious injury in a battle, I condensed my Tao into a seed. Then, this seed absorbed the Tao charm of heaven and earth and started to ferment my own Tao. Peng Yu's words made Ning Cheng sigh. This fellow was truly ruthless. Condensing a seed once detected would result in the complete destruction of one's spiritual soul without even a chance for reincarnation. Fortunately for this junior, after this junior's seed was thrown into the void, it finally perfected its own Tao. At that time, someone obtained this junior's Tao seed, and this junior took the opportunity to possess it. Ning Cheng could only sympathize with the fellow who Peng Yu possessed. Cultivating in the starry sky, anything could happen. Go on. That was the first time you tried to possess someone. What about the second time? Ning Cheng motioned for Peng Yu to continue explaining about the possession. Peng Yu, on seeing Ning Cheng's expression soften, spoke up with even more calmness. The second time, when this junior was training in the void, I met a remnant soul. This remnant soul came from the opposite side of Jialiang Mountain and wanted to possess this junior. Because this junior cared a lot about possession, this junior had already condensed an essence spirit for many years. Although this remnant soul was powerful, it was broken. In the end, this junior devoured the remnant soul's essence spirit consciousness. Chapter 1258. Ning Cheng understood and asked, this broken essence spirit came from the other side of Jialiang Mountain, so it retained some of its memories? This Peng Yu really had good luck. After condensing the Tao seed, he could find a suitable person to possess. The second time, he ended up being possessed by someone else. However, whether he possessed someone else or someone else possessed him, he always emerged as the winner. Senior, this remnant soul came from the other side of Jialiang Mountain. This junior also absorbed part of the remnant soul's memories, which allowed me to know that there are too many planes in the vast universe. This junior went through a lot of hardships to reach the periphery of Jiaoliang Mountain through heavens beyond. Peng Yu's tone turned even more respectful. Ning Cheng, on the other hand, felt a bit more relieved. So you want me to take you through the Jiaoliang Mountain range? Peng Yu quickly replied, yes, this junior just wants to help senior find the illusory sea crossing crystal and then leave alone. Okay, I agree to your request. Ning Cheng agreed to Peng Yu's request without hesitation. Since Peng Yu had absorbed the remnant soul's memories, he must know a lot of places with hidden treasures. Ning Cheng did not intend to ask about these things. The most important thing for him right now was not to search for treasures, but to seize the time to detoxify. The starry sky wheel entered Jiaoliang Mountain at a speed so fast that it tore through the void. Many cultivators searching for cultivation resources in Jiaoliang Mountain had just felt the starry sky wheel when it crossed through the void and disappeared without a trace. Jiaoliang Mountain was an extremely dangerous place with too many spatial cracks, traps, and powerful demonic beasts. But with the starry sky wheel under Ning Cheng's control, it didn't pose a problem at all. The spatial cracks did not affect the starry sky wheel, and the starry sky wheel had already crossed through it. As for the various demonic beasts, they had just discovered the starry sky wheel when it disappeared without a trace. Meng Yong felt very satisfied. Ning Cheng had found a good helper. At the same time, he felt regretful that the starry sky wheel was not his. Once he told Ning Cheng about the location of the starry sky wheel's artifact spirit, he probably would never have a chance to obtain the starry sky wheel. As long as they did not encounter any spatial dislocations, they would not have any problems traveling. Once they encountered a spatial dislocation, even the starry sky wheel would not have any problems. In the beginning, no matter how fast the starry sky wheel was, they would still encounter all kinds of cultivators searching for cultivation resources in Jiaoliang Mountain. But 3 months later, it was hard to see any more cultivators in Ning City. After walking for another month, he could only see collapsed mountains, cracked rivers, and bottomless abysses. There were broken Taoist ruins and ravines everywhere. Every single place exuded a powerful Tao rune aura, and there were even traces of death and murderous intent. It could be seen that this place was once created by a battle between extremely powerful people. Ning Cheng could also occasionally see some very high-grade divine grasses and some cultivation materials that he wanted. However, this didn't stop him. To him, cultivation resources weren't a problem. The problem was the Saha adversity poison. At this time, Ning Cheng finally realized how big the Jiaoliang Mountain was. The starry sky wheel kept flying upwards, but even now, he could not see or touch the top of the Jiaoliang Mountain with his spiritual consciousness. Brother Ning, we have to slow down here. In the process of flying over the Jiaoliang Mountain, there were invisible vortexes of laws and spatial distortions. Whether it encountered an underground law maelstrom or a spatial dislocation, the starry sky wheel might not be able to resist it. Don't look at us all as Tao essence cultivators. Once we encounter these things, our chances of survival would greatly decrease. Meng Yong came out and sat down not far from Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's gaze fell on the red mark on Meng Yong's forehead and nodded. Brother Mang, you're right. I encountered several spatial cracks and a spatial dislocation before. Next, we'll have to rely on your Tao Eye. Once the spatial crack grew too big, the starry sky wheel would lose its direction if it accidentally entered it. Even if they managed to find the interface where the Jiaoliang Mountain was located, it would also waste a lot of time. Brother Ning, rest assured. With the starry sky wheel and my Tao Eye working together, we have a good chance of crossing the Jiaoliang Mountain. I didn't expect that we would reach the foot of the Jiaoliang Mountain in just 4 months. You said that we've only reached the foot of the Jiaoliang Mountain? Ning Cheng suddenly felt a bad feeling in his heart. 4 months, and they had only reached the foot of the Jiaoliang Mountain. How long would it take to cross the Jiaoliang Mountain? Meng Yong hesitated for a moment before speaking. Actually, you can't say that we've only reached the foot of the Jiaoliang Mountain. The path we took before was considered the periphery of the Jiaoliang Mountain. You should have felt it. The laws here are several times stronger than the laws outside. If you fight outside, you might be able to stir up some tiny void cracks. Even if you use a powerful spirit power, I'm afraid it would be difficult to create even a tiny void crack here. Ning Cheng felt a sense of powerlessness in his heart. He had always thought that his strength was good. He was not even afraid of ordinary Tao integration's sacred emperors. Now, it seemed that his strength was only relative. At this moment, he was like Sun Wukong, while the Jialiang mountain was like Buddha's palm. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Meng Yong chuckled and said, "It's difficult for us to cross the Jialiang mountain now. I heard that third-step experts only need one step to cross the Jialiang mountain. The Jialiang mountain's heaven-earth law level is extremely high, and we can't touch it. But look at the ravines and mountains everywhere. These are the traces left behind by the battles of those experts." Meng Yong wanted to leave some traces in Ning Cheng's Tao heart and let Ning Cheng know how important it was for them to search for the third-step Tao validation opportunity. He had not expected that Ning Cheng would suddenly laugh after hearing his words. "Brother Meng is right. Our current strength is indeed too weak." Ning Cheng had thought it through. If he had been an ordinary person on Earth, he would have been even more shocked when he saw those experts who could shatter a planet with a single punch. Now, he could shatter a planet with a single punch. Not to mention shattering a planet with a single punch, he could even cross from one planet to another in a low-level plane with a single step. He had not even dared to think about this kind of strength before, but he could do it now. Today, he might have to spend a lot of effort to cross the Jialiang mountain, but one day in the future, he would be able to cross the Jialiang mountain with a single step. He could even condense a hand seal and grab the Jialiang mountain. Just like what he had said to an one day in the future, when he faced the guy who had made a hand seal in the depths of the void, he would punch him back. As for Meng Yong's words about stepping into the third step of Tao confirming, he would definitely be able to cross the Jialiang mountain with a single step. Ning Cheng still had some doubts in his heart. That Feng Huangmei, whom he had met in the mysterious yellow heavens beyond, should be at the third step of Tao confirming, right? That Feng Huangmei was at best a bit stronger than him. Ning Cheng would never believe that he could cross the Jialiang mountain with a single step. There is an underground law whirlpool in front of us. Quickly move to the east by 1,000 feet. Meng Yong, who was about to speak, suddenly called out anxiously. Ning Cheng also felt that something was wrong with the laws in front of him. Therefore, when Meng Yong spoke, he did not hesitate to control the starry sky wheel to move to the east by 1,000 feet. The starry sky wheel, like a bolt of lightning, swept past the underground law whirlpool. Ning Cheng could clearly see a bottomless abyss. The endless laws of heaven and earth formed a law whirlpool that was almost visible to the naked eye. Ning Cheng was sure that once the starry sky wheel flew over the law whirlpool, it would most likely get sucked into the law whirlpool. Meng Yong's Tao truly was a good thing. Just as Ning Cheng was muttering to himself, he saw rows of red Tao fruits at the edge of the law whirlpool. Are these the extreme darkness Tao fruits? Ning Cheng asked in shock. The extreme darkness Tao fruits were priceless, yet there were rows of them here. Meng Yong chuckled, but a flash of desire flashed across his eyes. It's not a big deal to see the heaven-raising Tao fruit here. Even if you see the heaven-raising Tao fruit, it's still normal. The laws of the underground whirlpool in this place are extremely powerful. Even if a Tao perfection powerhouse came here, it would be difficult to escape unscathed. Fortunately, what we saw just now was a bright whirlpool. There are also some dark whirlpools that can't be seen with the naked eye. Even if Meng Yong didn't explain, Ning Cheng could feel the terror of the law whirlpool. With his strength, he most likely couldn't pick the extreme darkness Tao fruit from the side of the law whirlpool. As the starry sky wheel rushed upwards, Ning Cheng saw a variety of top-grade divine grasses and Tao fruits. Each of the divine grasses was extremely rare, and even the great merchant house rarely saw them. Unfortunately, he could only look at these top-grade spiritual grasses and Tao fruits. Maybe one day, when his strength improved, he could come here to collect all kinds of divine grasses. If that day came, these divine grasses might not be much different from weeds in his eyes. Ning Cheng sighed and sped up the starry sky wheel again. As Ning Cheng sped up the starry sky wheel, Meng Yong could only do his best to observe the road for Ning Cheng. His Dao Eye also seemed to struggle under such a heavy workload. Just when Meng Yong wanted Ning Cheng to slow down again, a heaven-devouring and earth-shattering roar resounded. It felt as if the sky had collapsed from the top of the starry sky wheel. This kind of collapse felt similar to climbing a mountain on Earth, when an avalanche suddenly appeared above one's head. Ning Cheng's starry sky wheel paused and subconsciously slowed down. What's going on? Ning Cheng felt strange because his spiritual consciousness didn't detect any collapse. Meng Yong also felt a little puzzled. But after a while, his face suddenly turned pale, and he anxiously called out, "Brother Ning, hurry up and escape from this place. This is the collapse of the laws of heaven and earth. It's the condensation of the laws of heaven and earth left behind by ancient powerhouses. These laws of heaven and earth also contain various spirit techniques. Once they condense to a certain extent, they will collapse. Everything that remains in front of this collapsing law will turn into nothingness." Ning Cheng felt surprised. Wasn't this referring to his time wheel? As the time wheel swept past, it turned into nothingness. Chapter 1259. Run. Ning Cheng immediately reacted. The starry sky wheel immediately tore through space and moved away. At the same time, everyone on the deck of the starry sky wheel was alarmed. Even Zhong Wuchen, who was comprehending the Seven Bridges spirit technique within the restrictions, was shocked. When everyone felt the terrifying laws collapsing, their faces turned pale. At this moment, Ning Cheng didn't need to take the initiative. Everyone stimulated their spirit essence to attack the collapsing laws of heaven and earth. Boom, boom, boom. The violent Dao charm aura exploded, and all kinds of laws collapsed. The spirit essence Dao charm shook the surrounding space. Even though everyone, including Zhong Wuchen, had attacked with all their might, the monstrous aura, which was like a river of stars, still sent them flying. If not for Ning Cheng's starry sky wheel's restrictions being too strong, the weaker Duan Guanyu and Pengyu would have already been blasted out of the starry sky wheel. The collapsing laws of heaven and earth blew away all of them, and the violent aura caused the starry sky wheel to spin like a top, spinning rapidly in the void. Fortunately, Ning Cheng forcibly shifted the starry sky wheel to the edge of the collapsing laws. The starry sky wheel spun rapidly, brushing past the edge of the collapsing laws. After a while, Ning Cheng finally controlled the rapidly rotating starry sky wheel. The few people blocked by the starry sky wheel's restrictions also recovered and looked at the collapsing laws of heaven and earth in horror. At this moment, nothing could exist in front of the collapsing laws of heaven and earth. Everything turned into nothingness under the collapsing laws. Amazing, this kind of collapsing laws is rarely seen in the Jiaoliang mountain. It doesn't happen again in hundreds of years. We're really lucky to encounter this kind of collapsing laws. Meng Yong spoke with lingering fear. Pengyu, who stood on the side, also spoke up with fear. "I heard that this collapsing laws of heaven and earth is due to the residual charm of spirit techniques left behind after a battle between powerhouses. These spirit techniques accumulate over time and can even condense into new spirit techniques. This kind of spirit technique can easily cause the laws to collapse when it encounters some external laws." Shen Xiuing was silent. She glanced at Zhong Wuchen vaguely and quickly lowered her head. She had a hunch that Zhong Wuchen was the strongest when they fought just now. Not only was he the strongest, but he could even defeat her easily. After setting foot on Ning Cheng's starry sky wheel, she had always thought that she was the strongest. But now, it didn't seem like the case at all. If Ning Cheng's roots were this strong, then how could Ning Cheng be weak? However, Meng Yong said that the last time he saw Ning Cheng was only at the Dao transformation realm. No matter how powerful a genius was in the starry sky, it was impossible for them to reach the late-stage primordial Dao in just a few years, right? Even if he could reach the mid-stage primordial Dao, he would be considered a genius among geniuses. Unless, Shen Xiuing quickly put aside her thoughts. Even if Ning Cheng had a time array disk, he would not be able to cultivate so quickly. As long as a cultivator reached the Dao sculpting realm, Cultivation would not only depend on time accumulation. More importantly, one needed to comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth. If comprehending the great Tao of heaven and earth only required time, then everyone would be able to comprehend their own great Tao. It was just a matter of time. In fact, there were only a few experts who could truly stand at the peak of starry sky. Zhong Wuchen didn't care about it. He just clapped his hands and didn't say a word before returning to his array formation restrictions to continue comprehending the first bridge of coping. After more than half a year of comprehension, he had basically mastered the first bridge of coping. As long as he had another month, he could start comprehending the second bridge of viewing village. After experiencing the collapse of the laws of heaven and earth, no one wanted to say anything. Instead, they entered their own restrictions and began to cultivate in seclusion. Ning Cheng still controlled the starry sky wheel while feeling the cutting adversity poison under his control. As for the collapsing laws of heaven and earth, he had already put it aside. He had only been poisoned for a little more than a year, but he felt that something was wrong. The flow of Tao charm had become a little sluggish, and even the spirit essence didn't seem as smooth as before. Although this feeling was subtle, it still made Ning Cheng's heart feel a little gloomy. This was a sign that the cutting adversity poison could no longer be suppressed. If he couldn't suppress the cutting adversity poison, what would the consequences be? Not to mention that he still had a ticking time bomb like Zhong Wuchen with him. Even Meng Yong, Shen Xiuying, Duan Guanyu, and even that Tao transformation Holy Emperor Peng Yu, none of them were easy to deal with. The starry sky wheel's speed kept increasing. Although Meng Yong's Tao felt strained, he couldn't persuade Ning Cheng. During the collapse of the laws, if Ning Cheng hadn't turned the tide and controlled the starry sky wheel to escape to the edge of the collapsing laws in time. With just the few of them working together, they wouldn't have been able to stop the collapsing laws. Even if the last few of them didn't die, they would have lost the opportunity to cross the Jiaoyang mountain. Fortunately, although they encountered all kinds of dangers along the way, the starry sky will manage to avoid them all. Another year passed by, and just when Meng Yong felt that his Tao Eye was about to collapse, his spiritual consciousness turned empty. A vast void domain appeared around him, and Meng Yong stood up in excitement. We should have reached the top of the Jiaoyang mountain. Ning Cheng also sighed. Over the past year, he felt that he couldn't suppress the poison any longer. The circulation of spirit essence and Tao charm had become even more sluggish. Fortunately, they finally reached the top of the Jiaoyang mountain. The starry sky wheel didn't stop at the top of the Jiaoyang mountain and continued rushing forward. Brother Ning, should we stop and take a break? Shen Xiuying took the initiative to come to Ning Cheng for the first time and asked for his opinion. At this time, even Meng Yong and Duan Guanyu looked at Ning Cheng with some expectation. They didn't want to enjoy the scenery here, but the danger at the top of the Jiaoyang mountain was much smaller. There were all kinds of treasures at the top of the Jiaoyang mountain. At the same time, the laws of heaven and earth here were far more powerful than those at the foot of the Jiaoyang mountain. You can stand on the deck of the starry sky wheel and look at the top of the Jiaoyang mountain, but I can't stop. We need to cross the Jiaoyang mountain as fast as we can. If we stop and something happens, the gains won't make up for the losses. Ning Cheng refused without hesitation. He also wanted to stop here and have a look, but Ning Cheng knew that he didn't have the time to stop here. The top of the Jiaoyang mountain seemed to be a little different from the other peaks. This mountain didn't have a steep peak, but a platform that looked like it had been carved out by a knife. Carved out by a knife? Ning Cheng's heart moved as he thought of this. Did someone really use a knife to carve it out? If that was the case, then that person was just too terrifying. The top of the Jiaoyang mountain looks like an endless sea. Except for some subtle waves, it looks like it was carved out by a knife. Duan Guanyu spoke up in amazement. Peng Yu, who had the weakest cultivation, spoke up from the side. I heard that a powerhouse used a weapon to flatten this place, but it might not have been a knife. Ning Cheng suddenly remembered Mount Buzhou. There was a legend on Earth that Mount Buzhou had been smashed by Gonggong. This Jiaoyang mountain was very similar to the Mount Buzhou that Gonggong had smashed into. As for whether the legends on Earth were true or false, Ning Cheng couldn't be sure. Now that he had entered the vast void, at least one thing was certain. That is, cultivation really existed. He himself had long since surpassed the definition of an ordinary immortal. But what puzzled him was that he couldn't transform into a variety of things at any time, anywhere, like in the myths and legends. Although he knew that there was such a spiritual transformation cultivation method, and he had even seen such a person, he had never seen such a cultivation method. He had only heard about it. Even standing on the deck of the starry sky wheel, one could feel the vast starry sky and the distant void that even one's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate. Everyone could feel a majestic and vast aura, which made everyone more certain that the place beyond Jiaoliang Mountain was the place where the third-step powerhouses lived in the past. Jiaoliang Mountain was also a testament to the battles of those powerhouses. Half a month later, the starry sky wheel passed through Jiaoliang Mountain and began to descend. Ning Cheng, under the influence of the receiving adversity poison, crazily controlled the starry sky wheel to accelerate. Whether it was the powerful aura of the laws of heaven and earth around him or the Tao charm of the many powerhouses fighting, Ning Cheng didn't have the mood to feel anything. Meng Yong reminded Ning Cheng more than once, but Ning Cheng acted as if he didn't hear it and kept accelerating. If not for the fact that Ning Cheng didn't have any grudges with him, Meng Yong even suspected that Ning Cheng would want to perish together with them. Otherwise, what was the difference between this speed and perishing together? At this speed, even if they encountered any sudden spatial dislocations, he wouldn't have the time to warn Ning Cheng. Fortunately, everyone's luck seemed to have improved. Ning Cheng increased the speed of the starry sky wheel to the extreme along the way. Although they encountered some dangers, Ning Cheng managed to avoid them in time. At this time, Meng Yong started to wonder if his Tao Eye was of any use. In just half a year, a vast domain appeared in front of everyone. The powerful laws of heaven and earth made everyone exclaim in amazement. Some even trembled with excitement. With such a vast domain and such vast laws of heaven and earth, if one could find a place to comprehend and cultivate, how could one not reach the third step of Tao confirming? Not to mention the endless cultivation resources of heaven and earth, even the traces of battle Tao charm left behind by some powerhouses were something that everyone dreamed of obtaining. Ning Cheng stopped at this moment. Brother Mang, this should be equivalent to crossing the Jiaoliang Mountain. Next, we'll part ways here. Meng Yong quickly took out a jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng. Brother Ning, this is the place where I mentioned the thing. If Brother Ning isn't in a hurry, I can accompany Brother Ning after I return to the fallen immortal market square from the Jiaoliang Mountain. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile but didn't take the jade strip. Meng Yong immediately understood Ning Cheng's meaning and quickly took back the jade strip. He seemed to have added something to it before handing the jade strip back to Ning Cheng. Brother Ning, I swear that the location of the thing you want must be in this jade strip. If there's even half a word of falsehood, I will die of decay. Hearing Meng Yong's vow, Ning Cheng calmly put away the jade strip. Chapter 1260. A few Tao Essence ants want to live here. Zhong Wuchen snorted as he watched Meng Yong's trio leave. Ning Cheng put away the Seven Bridges Realm book, and Zhong Wuchen could only stop comprehending the Seven Bridges spirit technique. He knew that if he didn't help Ning Cheng find the illusory sea crystal, Ning Cheng wouldn't let him continue comprehending the Seven Bridges spirit technique. Oh, have you been here before? Ning Cheng looked at Zhong Wuchen with a smile. He had always suspected that Zhong Wuchen had been here before. He had never heard of the illusory sea crystal before. Zhong Wuchen chuckled. I've heard a little about it. I wanted to come here before, but I couldn't even reach the Jiaoliang Mountain because of my lack of strength. Ning Cheng ignored Zhong Wuchen and looked at Peng Yu. Peng Yu, what do you think are the chances of those three surviving? Peng Yu carefully glanced at Zhong Wuchen before speaking cautiously. There are many realms in this place. If the three of them accidentally went to one of those realms, as Senior Zhong said, they wouldn't have a chance to survive. If the three of them had better luck or obtained some realms maps, they might have a chance to survive. Yes, what you said is more pertinent. The first thing we need to do now is to find the illusory sea crystal. You can lead the way. As long as you find the illusory sea crystal, Your task will be complete, and you can leave at will. Ning Cheng patted Peng Yu on the shoulder. As soon as they crossed the Jiaoliang mountain, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept through the area and found that there were indeed many realms here. Even his spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it. From this, Ning Cheng could see that Peng Yu was right. Many areas in this area were separated by realms restrictions. Peng Yu was a very good guide. This place was much more dangerous than when they ascended Jiaoliang mountain previously. But this fellow truly deserved to have devoured the memories of the ancient essence spirit that survived the Jiaoliang mountain. Ning Cheng controlled the starry sky wheel to avoid some dangers occasionally. Just half a month later, Ning Cheng saw an endless sea in front of him. To be precise, it was a dry sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. The sea didn't have a single drop of water, only a variety of crisscrossing ravines, cracked conch shells, and some fossilized seabed species. Standing by the sea, one could vaguely feel the aura of the once vast sea. Senior, this is the Jiaoliang Sea. During the war back then, the surface of the Jiaoliang Sea was pierced through, causing the seawater to flow backwards. In the end, it became like this, Peng Yu explained as he pointed at the endless dry sea. Ning Cheng then looked at Zhong Wuchen. Old Zhong, do you know the specific location of the illusory sea crossing crystal? Zhong Wuchen's shriveled old face was slightly embarrassed. I don't know the specific location, so I dragged Peng Yu here. Peng Yu didn't dare to talk nonsense, but he despised him in his heart. Did you drag me here? I'm the one looking for you, but you're ignoring me, okay? This old fogey really did not know about it. Ning Cheng was too lazy to go and talk with Zhong Wuchen, and spoke to Peng Yu. You quickly lead the way. If you can find it within a month, I will reward you with a heavenly heaven pill. Thank you, Senior. I will definitely find the location of the crossing crystal within a month. Peng Yu hurriedly bowed to express his gratitude. He had devoured a powerful life essence and knew a lot of things. But the heavenly heaven pill still held an unparalleled temptation for him. This was a Tao pill that could help him comprehend the second step of Tao essence advancement. Even if one had spirit crystals, they would not be able to buy it. The starry sky wheel, under Peng Yu's lead, sped through the Jiaoliang Sea. At this moment, Ning Cheng finally felt Peng Yu's role. Although this fellow had absorbed the memories of his life essence, he was very familiar with this place. Along the way, he even told Ning Cheng some of the stories about the Jiaoliang Sea. He even knew where the forbidden areas in the depths of the Jiaoliang Sea were. Although the Jiaoliang Sea had dried up, Ning Cheng could vaguely see a large number of artifact crafting materials in the starry sky wheel, as well as some rare treasures. However, Ning Cheng didn't have any interest in searching for other things without an antidote for the Saha disaster poison. As long as he could find the crossing crystal, even if he couldn't get rid of the poison temporarily, he could at least contain it for a while. Peng Yu really wasn't bragging. When there were still a few days left, he suddenly called out to Ning Cheng, Senior, we've arrived. Even without Peng Yu's words, Ning Cheng could see the difference in front. A few hundred miles away from them, there was a large coral reef. Ning Cheng had seen too many undersea coral reefs along the way, but this coral reef was different. This coral reef didn't look like the ones he saw before, but more like a dense forest. According to Ning Cheng's estimates, this coral reef had a radius of thousands of miles. Is this where the crossing crystal mirage sea is? Ning Cheng looked at the huge coral reef in doubt and asked in doubt. This time, without waiting for Peng Yu to answer, Zhong Wuchen took the initiative to speak. This should be the right place. The place where the crossing crystal mirage sea condenses is the most attractive place for all kinds of undersea corals. Moreover, among the undersea corals, the red-lip coral and blue-bun coral have the strongest survivability and can directly devour other coral species. Eventually, these two corals form the world. Look at the corals in this place, they are mostly red-lip coral and blue-bun coral. Ning Cheng put away the starry sky wheel and said to Peng Yu, in that case, you lead the way. Peng Yu walked through the coral reef forest with great familiarity. After just an hour, he stopped. For ordinary people, this place looked no different from the surrounding corals. However, Ning Cheng was an expert in the Tao of arrays. Therefore, he could tell at a glance that this was an illusory array. There is a natural illusory array here. Is this the place where the crossing crystal mirage sea appears? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. Peng Yu replied respectfully, Senior, please understand. The crossing crystal mirage sea can form a top-grade natural illusory array around it. For Senior to see through the illusory array here, it shows that Senior's spirit skills are truly exceptional. According to the memories I obtained, this is the only place in the Jialiang Sea where the crossing crystal mirage sea can be found. Okay, you two wait for me outside. After saying that, Ning Cheng didn't break the array. Instead, he took a few steps diagonally and disappeared into the illusory array. Peng Yu looked at Ning Cheng in shock. He had been thinking about how to break the illusory array, whether to break it by force or by other means. But before he could get an answer to this question, Ning Cheng had already entered the illusory array. This kind of Tao of arrays was simply too terrifying. He quickly remembered something and quickly called out, Senior, I still have something to tell you. It's just that Ning Cheng had already entered the illusory array and couldn't hear his words at all. The corners of Zhong Wuchen's eyes twitched. He knew that Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of arrays were not weak. If his attainments were weak, he wouldn't be able to walk around Yin Clan's corner like it was his own backyard. But he didn't expect that Ning Cheng's attainments in the Tao of arrays would reach such a level. Zhong Wuchen considered himself a powerhouse in the Tao of arrays. But compared to Ning Cheng, he felt that he was just bragging. He definitely wasn't a powerhouse in the Tao of arrays. At best, he was just an array formation master with a certain understanding of array formations. As soon as Ning Cheng stepped through the natural illusory array, the first thing he saw was a blue sea. He even thought that he had seen it wrong. But when he looked again, it was still a blue sea. Ning Cheng stepped down and reached out to scoop up a little bit of seawater, but found nothing. It wasn't until this time that Ning Cheng saw it clearly. It wasn't seawater at all, nor was it an illusion, but a scene reflected in the water. With his current spiritual consciousness cultivation and vision, Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel shocked by the scene reflected in the water. His spiritual consciousness penetrated into the blue sea in front of him, and after observing for a while, he finally saw it clearly. The reason for this situation was that there were several blue crystals here. These blue crystals were faintly discernible, but with a trace of the Tao charm of the sea water, they completely integrated with the surrounding space. Was this the illusory sea crossing crystal? Ning Cheng excitedly grabbed one of the azure blue crystals, and sure enough, after he grabbed this piece of crystal, it suddenly changed. The blue sea in front of him turned illusory, and its area also shrank. Ning Cheng suppressed the excitement in his heart and raised his hands. In the shortest time possible, he grabbed nearly 10 illusory sea crossing crystals. At this moment, the illusory blue sea in front of Ning Cheng suddenly disappeared. The last few blue stars flickered a few times in front of Ning Cheng's eyes before quickly disappearing. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to continue grabbing the illusory sea crossing crystals. What's going on? Ning Cheng looked at the gradually dissipating illusory array in front of him and frowned. He quickly took out 8 jade boxes and put away the 8 illusory sea crossing crystals. Ning Cheng had just put away the illusory sea crossing crystals when his eyes lit up, and the illusory array he was in disappeared without a trace. The blue sea water reflected by the illusory sea crossing crystals in front of him also disappeared at this moment. Instead, Peng Yu and Zhong Wuchen appeared in front of him. Why did the illusory array where the illusory sea crossing crystals were located disappear? Ning Cheng looked at Peng Yu and asked. Peng Yu spoke with a trace of fear on his face. Senior, there is one more thing this junior did not have time to say. Once you enter the illusory sea where the illusory sea crossing crystals are located, you must take away as many illusory sea crossing crystals as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the illusory sea crossing crystals will disappear without a trace. After countless years, the illusory sea will form again. This countless years, maybe 1,000,000 years, maybe 10 million years or even longer. So that was the case. Ning Cheng took out a jade bottle containing the Heaven Essence pill and handed it to Peng Yu. This is the Heaven Essence pill. Thank you for this matter. If you have something to do, please feel free to do so. Many thanks, Senior. Peng Yu quickly took the jade bottle and thanked him. After checking the medicinal pills in the jade bottle, Peng Yu put away the jade bottle and hesitated for a moment before speaking. Senior, the heaven and earth deity's tomb mound is just beyond this coral forest where the illusory sea crossing crystals are. Senior should not go to that place. Heaven and earth deity's tomb mound? Why can't I go there? What dangers are there? Ning Qing asked in doubt. Peng Yu shook his head. This is just this junior's memory. As for why, this junior does not know. Chapter 1261. Thank you for the reminder. You can act on your own now. Although Ning Qing had no intention of going to the sacred tomb of the heaven and earth deity, he still thanked Peng Yu. Peng Yu had made a great contribution to finding the illusory sea crystals so quickly. Ning Qing did not like Peng Yu's character, but he still had to thank him. After Peng Yu left, Ning Qing brought out the starry sky wheel and said to Zhong Wuchen, "Now you control the starry sky wheel. We'll return from Jiaoyang Mountain as fast as possible and then head to heavens beyond immediately." Leaving so soon? Zhong Wuchen looked at Ning Qing in doubt. To be honest, even for Zhong Wuchen, it was not easy to cross Jiaoyang Mountain. If possible, studying the Seven Bridges spiritual technique here would be much better than heavens beyond. Once his Seven Bridges sacred art and Five Bridges sacred art were comprehended, he might be able to find new opportunities in this domain. What else? Old Zhong, I've already told you that the most important thing for me now is to find the illusory sea crystal and the stainless water. Now that I've found the illusory sea crystal, I naturally have to look for the stainless water, Ning Qing said in a cold tone. Well, I'll let you take priority, Zhong Wuchen said helplessly. After that, he seemed to have thought of something and said to Ning Qing eagerly, "Taoist Ning, you should have asked Peng Yu. This is a realm where the laws of heaven and earth far surpass the void outside. Maybe it would be more reliable to find the stainless water here than in heavens beyond." Ning Qing slapped his head. He was really muddle-headed. With a know-it-all like Peng Yu, he had let him go in vain. This place was full of dangers. As long as Peng Yu said that he knew about the illusory sea crystal, Ning Qing could take him there. Peng Yu naturally would not say that he knew about the stainless water. Since Peng Yu did not say anything, Ning Qing needed to interrogate him. Thinking of this, Ning Qing did not have time to answer Zhong Wuchen's words. He just said, "Wait for me here." Then he disappeared in a flash. Taoist Peng Yu. Peng Yu was flying with excitement when Ning Qing suddenly called out to him. His heart skipped a beat. In order to cross Jiaoyang Mountain, he had waited in the fallen immortal lane for many years. This time, he finally seized the opportunity and risked his life to follow Ning Qing and the others. Just as he was about to show off his skills and go into seclusion to improve his strength, that terrifying senior Ning called out to him. Could it be that this expert suddenly changed his mind and wanted to force him to reveal the location of the treasure? Peng Yu didn't dare to escape, so he immediately stopped and asked with a bow, "Senior, do you still have something to talk to me about?" Ning Qing showed a faint smile as he stepped forward and patted Peng Yu's shoulder. "You don't have to worry about it. I just have something to ask you. If you know, just tell me. I'll give you some benefits. Of course, if you lie, don't blame me for being rude." When Peng Yu heard this, he finally heaved a sigh of relief and quickly replied, "Senior, please ask away. Apart from looking for the Mirage Sea Crossing crystal, I also came here to look for something else, and that is the stainless water. Have you ever heard of such a thing?" After Ning Qing asked, he directly stared at Peng Yu. If this guy was lying, he would be able to tell right away. When he heard about the stainless water, Peng Yu's expression changed several times. Finally, he respectfully replied, "This junior does indeed know about the stainless water. Moreover, there really is stainless water here." What? Ning Qing felt ecstatic. He didn't think that this Peng Yu would turn out to be such a lucky star. He had just helped him find the Mirage Sea Crossing crystal, and now there was news about the stainless water. "Hurry up and tell me, where is the stainless water? When the time comes, I'll give you some Tao essence pills for healing and cultivation. Ning Cheng said without hesitation. Peng Yu pointed in the direction of the Mirage Sea crossing crystal. Senior, the stainless water is in the heaven and earth deity mound that I mentioned. It's just that it's too dangerous. Many years ago, almost no one came out after going in. After so many years, I'm not sure if it's as dangerous as before. Ning Cheng suddenly frowned. He didn't expect that the stainless water was in the heaven and earth deity mound that Peng Yu mentioned. Seeing Ning Cheng remain silent, Peng Yu felt very worried. He worried that Ning Cheng would take him to the heaven and earth deity mound and then ask him to continue leading the way. Senior, the stainless water is formed from the stainless land. In this place there is no space, no time, no heaven and earth laws, no grand Dao charm, and nothing else. Every drop of water is formed from the innate aura after the creation of the world and is extremely difficult to obtain. The heaven and earth deity mound has a powerful Dao charm, which makes it difficult for ordinary people to enter. However, there is a lot of stainless water left. Moreover, the stainless water has to be stored in a bottle made from the Mirage Sea crossing crystal. Otherwise, it will be contaminated, Peng Yu explained carefully. Ning Cheng felt even more puzzled. Was Peng Yu lying to him? Although the stainless water was indeed precious and scarce, it shouldn't be this precious, right? If Peng Yu's words were true, then even if he went to heavens beyond of heaven and earth, he wouldn't be able to find the stainless water. Ning Cheng's face suddenly sank. Since you knew that there was stainless water here, why didn't you tell me before? When Zhong Wuchen issued the task, he had issued the Mirage Sea crossing crystal and the stainless water together. It seemed that Zhong Wuchen had not misjudged Peng Yu. Peng Yu knew that there was stainless water here, but he didn't say anything. Zhong Wuchen obviously didn't care about his matters. If this guy hadn't wanted to stay here to cultivate, he probably wouldn't have asked Peng Yu again. None of these old things were easy to deal with. Each and every one of them was cunning. Peng Yu's face turned pale, and he quickly spoke up in a respectful tone. This junior really has his own difficulties. With this junior's strength, if I followed senior to the heaven and earth god's tomb mound, I'm afraid that it would be a disaster. At this point, Peng Yu didn't wait for Ning Cheng to continue asking. He quickly took out a jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng. Senior, this is the location of the heaven and earth god's tomb mound from this junior's memory. Although this junior doesn't know the specific location of the stainless water, I can vaguely feel that it is at the edge of the god's tomb mound and the god's end river. Ning Cheng grabbed the jade strip and looked at it. The jade strip's engravings were quite detailed. Peng Yu, the stainless water I know doesn't seem to be so precious, right? According to what you said, how many people can use the Mirage Sea crossing crystal to preserve the stainless water? Ning Cheng still asked the doubts in his heart. Peng Yu quickly replied, stainless water is very rare, but it's not that it doesn't exist. Many people can find stainless water in some mystic realms, forbidden areas, or sparsely populated places. It's just that even if they found the stainless water, they couldn't find the Mirage Sea crossing crystal. Therefore, they could only use ordinary jade bottles and restrictions to collect the stainless water. Although such stainless water is also called stainless water, it has been contaminated. It doesn't even have 1% of the true stainless water's efficacy. Ning Cheng finally understood. He guessed that Zhong Wuchen's friend had failed. Apart from not obtaining the heaven and earth law fruit, it was most likely because he didn't obtain the pure stainless water. When three people walk together, there must be someone to learn from. This sentence really couldn't be any more true. A little Peng Yu had taught him so many things. If he hadn't met Peng Yu, even if he could find the stainless water in the mysterious yellow heavens beyond, it would have been contaminated, just like Peng Yu said. Seeing Ning Cheng's expression turn a little ugly, Peng Yu spoke up with even more caution. Senior, the stainless water is ranked third among the 10 innate waters. Naturally, it is extremely precious. If it were so easy to preserve, it wouldn't be ranked third. You said that the stainless water is ranked third among the 10 innate waters? Ning Cheng asked in amazement. He had only heard about the stainless water, but he had never heard of the stainless water that was ranked third. Peng Yu nodded affirmatively. Yes, the pure stainless water is indeed ranked third among the 10 innate waters. The most precious thing about the stainless water is that it is difficult to preserve. This Peng Yu really knew a lot of things. Ning Cheng took out a few bottles of Dao pills and handed them to Peng Yu. Dao friend Peng Yu, this is for you. Thank you for your guidance. I also have a question to ask you. Of course, it doesn't matter if you know or don't know. Peng Yu quickly took the jade bottles. Many thanks, senior. This junior will tell you everything he knows. Ning Cheng asked, I've heard about the 10 innate waters, but I still don't know what the 10 innate waters are. If you know, please enlighten me. When Peng Yu heard this question, he immediately relaxed. This junior does know about the 10 innate waters. This junior had devoured the remnant soul's memories. As for whether it's correct or not, this junior isn't sure. The first of the 10 innate waters is the 5-element spirit water, the second is the crossing Dao water, the third is the stainless water, the fourth is the tranquil water, the fifth is the seeking heart water, the sixth is the weak water, the seventh is the unfixed black water, the eighth is the underworld river stagnant water, the ninth is the Xiao Xiao E water, and the 10th is the first essence heavy water. Sure enough, he had never heard of many of them. Ning Cheng was just about to speak when he suddenly saw a powerful aura of laws condensing in the distance. Following that, these auras of laws began to collide and explode. Even Ning Cheng, who was very far away, could clearly feel the terrifying spatial fluctuations. Ning Cheng was also a battle-hardened veteran. These powerful clashes and explosions of laws were obviously caused by a battle between top powerhouses. Judging from the intensity of these laws, Ning Cheng felt sure that none of the people fighting were any weaker than him. Peng Yu also felt the powerful spatial fluctuations, causing his expression to change slightly. Senior, the place where the clash of laws erupted was the Heaven and Earth deities' tomb mound. From the looks of it, someone had already gone to the Heaven and Earth deities' tomb mound. Ning Cheng called out to Peng Yu, you go first. I have something to do. See you later. After saying this, Ning Cheng's figure flashed and disappeared from Peng Yu's sight. The Heaven and Earth deities' tomb mound might be huge, but it definitely didn't have many stainless water. Once someone found the stainless water, it wouldn't be a matter of trading it back, but the stainless water would most likely be destroyed. Dao friend Ning, did you ask for any news? Zhong Wuchen, who was standing on the starry sky wheel and waiting for Ning Cheng, saw Ning Cheng return and asked from afar. Go to the Heaven and Earth deities' tomb mound immediately. Ning Cheng replied without hesitation. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.